Well, we are starting a big day, and sometimes the first day is the hardest. And I just want to say thank you, Matt. You've taught me that anything's possible. And we all are fighting our demons, every one of us, me included. And when I meet someone like you and I see all you've created, I say not only wow, but let me support this man. Let me tell him that, uh, brother, most importantly, let me help you rise up and cause all the goodness you did in my life and all the other people that know you to be 10x and 100x. So today is your day. We talked about this day, and you are the host. I am simply a vessel. I'm the channel, and I'm excited that you get to transform so many people's lives and have their voice and their message inspire people that they can be greater.
I appreciate that a lot. Thank you, Ken.
So it was roughly what, a year and 3 months ago I met you?
Yeah, we met on Facebook and then I did your podcast and then a month later you happened to be you're from Baltimore, by the way,
Right?
everyone know that. It's far away, East Coast. A month later you happened to be in my little small town of Santa Barbara, doing a book launch for the famous, wonderful Beth Robbins, and you invited me to your mastermind and I went to the little something cat cafe. I don't remember what it was called, something with a cat, I believe.
Yeah.
And we went to that little hotel, got to know you, got to know Beth, got to meet Rich Carhart is his name, correct?
Uh, Let me see. Who would that? Oh, Jim Cathcart. Jim Cathcart.
Jim Cathcart,
You were
that's
you
right.
were tricking me there. I had to do a little bit of.
Rich. I don't know where that came from. Anyway, and then the next day we hung out again. I took you to the train station. We kept in contact, and I've always wanted to write a book, and you somehow read my mind, and you said you should write a book. And so after deleting it or starting and deleting a book two times prior to meeting you a couple years before that, we got to work, man. And I think one of the best investments you can ever make is in yourself. And so I talked to Beth about you. You obviously seem like a fabulous guy, but you gotta do your due diligence. And I talked to Beth, and she said I recommended 1,000 out of 10 or whatever she said. It was a lot. It was a high number. So I said, look, that's good enough for me. I already like what I see. I like what I know about him. And so it's exactly what I did. And I give it 1,000 out of 10 as well. It was a great
You did.
experience.
May I show the photo?
Yeah, yeah, of course.
That's it, right?
That's the one in New York. I'm
Yeah.
talking about the other one. We took a picture at we have this
That,
famous tree. It's like one of the
yes.
biggest.
And
Anyone from Santa Barbara,
that one I think I have here too. And
I've
so I
got
go,
it somewhere on my phone.
yeah, well, we've communicated a little bit, so this is just going to only take three. It'll take an hour or two, but I mean, the show will be over. The day will be over by the time I get to it. But this, you see my hand. This is actually going at hyper speed. But I want to show it because all this communication shows commitment. All this communication shows growth. All this communication shows that we care. And
We do.
so I don't think I have it. All that. I don't know if we took the picture with my phone because
If
it
you
doesn't
keep
seem.
scrolling, by maybe by next year's show, you'll find it.
Well, let me tell you my version because your version is pretty accurate. It's pretty accurate. I'll just say a couple little things.
Okay.
Mark Zuckerberg, who owns Facebook, some algorithm of his allowed your profile that meant absolutely nothing. Like, where's the correlation? You're in West Coast, I'm East Coast, but I guess he did. Maybe that's it. I don't know. I mean, we weren't doing the same things in life. I don't even know if we had any of the same friends, which is what is strange. So you come up and you go, people you may know, and you look like a professional speaker, but you had a great haircut. So I said, add friend. When I added, I don't know if there was a conversation like, you know, um, why'd you connect or something like that? And I said, oh, you were on my feet or whatever. But what's weird is I had never been to Santa Barbara. That's
Yeah.
number one. Number two, I had no idea when I connected with you that I'd ever even meet you.
Yeah.
Number three, within a month, I'm contacting you and say, dude, I just got booked from one of my new clients and I'm gonna be in Santa Barbara. I don't know if you want to stop by and meet, but you're welcome to do so. And when you met Beth, I was able to show who someone can be that takes advantage of how to get a book done and how to really show up in the world. So she's a champion just like you. And so yeah, we went to that famous tree, and we'll put that in the we'll put that in the I guess the link later. But
Yeah.
you did something that most people don't do. You vetted, and it's very important that you do that. There's two reasons to vet, and you might think there's only one. One is to see if it's the real deal. But the second one is actually to believe in it then. Because
Yeah.
when you vet it and it's true, then you can believe in it. And when you make a bad mistake or you make a good mistake, a good decision, but you don't believe in it, it's the same problem. You're not going to do much with it. So you took it very seriously, and the reason I'm here for you and the reason I play so big for you is because you've made everything happen that I asked you to do for yourself, and you've done it stellar job. So you went to New York, you got to go to DC, and all these things I wanted you to experience
Stayed
because
at your house. That's
that's
pretty
right.
cool. You know what I mean?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're a remarkable human being, and I'm so excited what you've created in a year and 3 months. And I only can imagine that looking back. I mean, I remember I told you like when we met in Santa Barbara, I said a year from now you're going to look back and go, all this happened. Like, do
Yeah.
you remember me saying that to you?
Yeah. It's crazy how quickly a year flies by too, because it
Yeah.
doesn't feel like it feels like I've known you for a year because we connected really well right off the bat, but at the same time I could remember that like it doesn't seem like a year ago. And it just goes to show you, man, you just you make the most of the 24 you're given, and next thing you know, it turns into a year and 3 months just like that. So I'm
Well,
excited.
my son, when he met you,
Yeah.
he started working out more, and
Yeah.
he takes his wellness more serious.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you for that too. And that causes me to do it too. So I think I'm more well. I can do better. And
Yeah.
you inspire me to keep looking at those things, like those little things you do better. But this is your day. I wanted to ask you just one or two questions and really make it really you. So I may be in the background just encouraging people, but me here is just welcoming and saying how proud I am. What an honor it is to have the Smile Channel, have a message that could save lives and cause people to rethink how powerful they are and how powerful they can be.
I appreciate
So
it.
talk about why this day.
Why this day? Why in general? Well, sobriety for me is near and dear to my heart, man. I struggled with addiction for a very, very long time. When I was about 14, 15 years old, started dabbling with alcohol, kind of normal thing. It's high school, kids are doing what they do, but for myself personally, I really liked it. For the first time in as far back as I can remember, I felt comfortable in my own skin. And if you've read my book, or if you're going to in the future, you'll understand a lot more things that I struggled with at a young age that made me, just I had a lot of insecurities, and I finally felt like I could be myself. And fast forward from drinking and alcohol use to heavier drug use, methamphetamines. By the time I was 17, started playing around with heroin. And by the time I was about 22, 23 years old, I was sticking a needle in my arm every single day just to survive, just to live. And that went on for a very, very long time. And I've had a lot of ups and downs, a lot of stints of sobriety, and then falling back off track. And by the grace of God, on October 2nd of this year, I'll have 5 years clean and sober. And man, it's a miracle because I remember when I couldn't even put together a day.
Mm. Well, I want to show the book off. All right. And today, if you believe in sobriety, you believe in Matt, you believe in somebody that is struggling, get this book for them. We published this book for two reasons. One, we believe in Matt, but two, we believe this book can change the world. So this is the book, and it is the day that you can actually show Matt that he did something great. It's 99 cents on Kindle. I recommend honestly that you buy the book. I guess we gave a special price today of 1812. So 1812 was a good year, I guess, Matt. So so I recommend that you buy the book, but you also get it on Kindle. Buy it on Kindle for 99 cents to help Matt hit Amazon bestseller. And when you read this or Matt, give him a review. It's real simple. You just go here, write a review. And he has 18 people that have written reviews for him. And we like it to be, I guess if it's 1812 as a price, we want 1,812 reviews. Okay. Is that fair, Matt?
That's
So,
right. That's pretty good to
so
me.
buy this to help show Matt that he has done some really great things. And then also buy the book and give it to somebody that it could change their life, save their life. And they'll thank you for it. They will thank you for it. It would be the book I would want. And it's a book I love. So, Matt, this is your day. I'm going to just say that we can close this up right now and bring our first speaker in, which I believe is you. So we'll
Hey everybody, welcome to the Smile Channel, and thank you so much for being here. We're so excited. I'm going to bring Matt up to the stage because he is going to share. This is his day. We are celebrating him. We're celebrating sobriety. We are celebrating um, Matt and all that he is accomplishing. Brad, I'm gonna put you backstage just for one more second. So, and let Matt come up first. Let's see. Yeah, where did Matt go? Oh, okay. Maybe we lost him for a second, but we'll get him back. So we're super excited about Matt, his book, You Rule Your the Way. And we're happy to have this opportunity to celebrate him and all that's happening. I don't see your name, Matt, so that's why I can't pull you up. So just hit enter webinar. Excuse us, guys. We just have a few little technical. Oh, I see. I see
There
what the
we go.
problem is.
Yeah, it was weird for a second. It was telling me I had your name. I don't know what
It
was.
does. So change your name.
Yeah, what's
I
going
was
on
like,
here, man?
why does it say Tanisha? I see why the problem is because I'm looking for your name.
Yeah. Um, okay.
Ooh, that's crazy. So anyway, we're super excited to have Matt here to share with us and to host this day. It's a very special day. It's a day um, filled with the opportunity to recognize just how we overcome. And so Matt is going to share a little bit of his story, tell you a little bit about his book throughout the day. And as Dr. Smiley just shared, that you guys can go on to Amazon and grab his book today. We want to make sure that we let Matt know just how proud of him we are for completing this task of writing a book. Let him know how proud of him we are as it relates to the journey of sobriety and how he has been such an example to so many. And so we want you to celebrate him as we do here at Perfect Publishing. And so, Matt, I'm going to let you have the floor and you share your story, and then we'll jump in with the rest of our guests.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm super excited to be here and be doing this day. And when Ken gave me the opportunity, I was, yeah, excited about doing it and excited for the ones for the years to come. But my name is Matt Fleming. I'm 36 years old and I live in Santa Barbara, California. And I've had a lot of, ups and downs in my recovery journey. I'll give you a little bit of background. I started heavily drinking and experimenting with drugs around the age of 14, 15 years old. Those things steadily progressed. And then by the time I was 22, 23 years old, I was using a needle to shoot methamphetamine and heroin into my arm every single day. And that came with a lot of consequences. My life seemed to spiral out of control very quickly. The county jail quickly became a revolving door. When I was 26, I got my first serious charge. I was arrested for a fraud charge and given the opportunity or given the ultimatum of either going to prison for 3 years or going to a treatment facility. And, God works miracles. And the person that I was in jail with next to me actually told me about this wonderful place called the Santa Barbara Rescue Mission. I was actually only court ordered to a 6 month rehab, but this place was a year. But he spoke so highly of it, I ended up going and choosing this one. It was the best decision I ever made. I had a lot of setbacks along the way. When I first got there, I think within 17 days, my girlfriend of 2 years, she passed away due to drug use right after I left. And the last conversation we had together was us yelling at each other as she dropped some of my stuff off to my mom's house the day before I was supposed to drive down an hour and a half to Santa Barbara to check myself into rehab. Huge life lesson learned there. Don't let people you care about leave. Don't leave those situations in anger. That's what I took from that the most. I got kicked out of that rehab after 4 months for fighting, relapsed instantly, ended up in the hospital right away. By the grace of God, they gave me another chance. I came back in, I graduated. I was determined to fix my life, at least so I thought. And I got really into my health and fitness at this time, ended up studying, to be a personal trainer by the time I graduated. I started working, teaching group classes, doing one-on-one coaching with fitness around local businesses in the area and some private training as well. And, I started drinking again. I started hanging out with people I met from the gym, normal people, good people. I felt like I had missed out on a lot in my early 20s, and I wanted to make up for that. That was where my head was at that time. And, a few drinks here and there on the weekends turned into, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night. And then next thing you know, the cocaine comes out. And it seemed like in a matter of about 6 month span, I was back to shooting dope again and living out of my car. I'd lost everything. I got fired from my job, had no money to pay rent. And once you're in that cycle, at least for myself personally, I can only speak from my own experience, but there's no really stopping me at that point. It takes a whole lot. And consequences came worse. As they tell you in recovery, it was a worse relapse, more severe consequences. One of the worst things I ever faced in my addiction, as far as, health wise, when I ended up in the hospital, my blood had gone septic. When I got there, they figured out I had endocarditis, which is or I'm sorry, infection in your heart, and then they also found a abscess right near my spinal cord that almost paralyzed me. So I was in there for some three serious things, and by the grace of God, I made it through there after 72 days of being in that hospital. It was during COVID. It was lockdown. I had a single person room. I really couldn't go too far outside my room. I was allowed on the fourth floor, and one night I decided to sneak out and get drunk with a friend, and one thing led to another, and I ended up, coming back to that hospital and just trying to fight the security guards, and just everything was in complete chaos. I pulled the pick line out of my arm, and I went and got into my car and drove myself off and started shooting dope again right there. And that went on for another year until I experienced overdose on fentanyl. I was living out of my car at this point. I was in the dollar store parking lot in a town called Santa Maria, kind of where I would hang out at because not too many people knew me. I wasn't from there, but it was near where I was from. And I just remember waking up in disgust. I hated the way I felt. I knew I needed to get help or I was going to end up dead or in prison. And so the following morning, I drove myself to drug and alcohol services and I asked for help, and they didn't have a bed for me right away, and I didn't have unlimited resources. I had no money. I had no one that was willing to help me. Everyone had written me off as they should have. And it took them about, you know, maybe a month or two, forget what it was, but the first bed they found for me, I had every intention of going there, and I was still living out of my car and still getting high, and I slept right through the time that I was supposed to be there to do my intake. And they gave away my bed, and I had to wait a few more weeks, and finally they found one. To make a long story short, I drove myself down there, checked myself into detox, and I've never looked back. October 2nd of this year, I'll have 5 years of sobriety. And by the grace of God, I just, continue to show up for myself the best I can every single day. In this journey, since I've shown up to that detox, I have been on a mission to really just see what I could make of myself. I was very thankful to get an opportunity that I've seen so many of my friends not get. A lot of them end up in prison or they end up dead or a combination of both, which is the exact path that I was headed down. And so that's what I've done, and I've only gotten better as the time continues. And, from that detox facility, I had no plan, of no idea of what I was going to do next. And I ended up back in Santa Barbara by God's work, nothing short of a miracle. I had a friend reach out to me who was running a sober living at the time, who I graduated the rescue mission with years prior. He got me a bed. I got a job moving furniture, doing whatever I could. I had two felonies on my record at this point. It was very difficult to get a job, but I just kept showing up and, walking through the doors as God continued to open them in his perfect timing. And life today is absolutely amazing. I'm a business owner now. I have my own coaching program based around faith, fitness, mindset, nutrition. It's called Redeemed Strength, and it's been a lot of fun and a great journey pursuing that. I've rebuilt my life on a strong relationship with God and constantly challenging myself, and that's how I live by. I've ran 2 marathons since I've been sober, which running for me was never in the cards, right? I had fitness as a background. I loved the weight room, but I was never a guy that was going to go run. So I ran. I ran twice. I went out to Honolulu and ran that marathon, and then I did another one a few months later and got a better time and stepped on the bodybuilding stage a couple of times, which was huge. Step outside my comfort zone because I'd always convinced myself I wasn't good enough, and I ended up doing that a couple times. I've written a book. Obviously, you ruled away. In the process of doing all that, I've been able to travel to New York, Baltimore, Maryland, and go promote this book with Ken and the Perfect Publishing team. And most recently, I started kickboxing. It's been another venture. It's been another thing that just gets me outside of my comfort zone and pushes me to become a little bit better. And that's really what I try to teach my clients that I get to work with. It's so much more than fitness and nutrition, right? Like I always tell people, the physique has always been a byproduct. My main goal has always been to work on this thing because this thing is what has gotten me in a lot of trouble in my life. This thing is what's told me I'm not good enough. This thing is what's kept me from living life to my fullest potential and becoming the man that God intended me to be. And by continuing to make difficult tasks in my life and then following through with them and then not only and continuing to push through that resistance, I built up a lot of self-belief and self-confidence in myself, and that has carried over into other areas of my life. And that's just like what I really like to teach people is that growth is uncomfortable. We all hear it all the time, but it's so true. And just like growth in the gym, you lift the weights, it gets to an uncomfortable point, but your muscles grow. It's same thing with life. And I really want to be an example for people that come from where I come from because I feel like a lot of us have a lot of limiting beliefs. I know I did for a very, very long time. I'm just going to be this because I've done this. I have these felonies on my record, so I'm never going to amount to much. But, just being sober and getting a regular job or whatever it is, that's good enough for me type thing. And I want people to recognize that, for one, their past does not define who they are. And actually, your biggest setbacks become your greatest assets because I look at going through what I've had to overcome as one of the toughest challenges, if not the toughest challenge I'll ever have to face in my life. And I think that's true for a lot of people that are sober. And it's just like, if you can do that, you can do anything. Take that energy that it took to ruin your life and channel it into something positive and watch what happens. Because the truth is, as we all know, people who live that life, it is a full-time job to be living that way. And as much as I loved the drugs and the alcohol, I also loved the chaos that came with it. And I feel like that's what entrepreneurship and fitness and doing all these things that I like to do is. It's controlled chaos. I'm taking that energy, channeling it into something positive, and I get that. I don't want to say same high, but I get a very similar high from living my life in this constant state of hustle, almost like state, I guess is the best way to put it. And I just want to show people that, there's hope. And I do my best to live by example of that each and every single day. I made a simple promise to myself and to God on day one of my sobriety that I was going to make the most of every 24 hours that I've been blessed with. And I feel like I've done a pretty dang good job of that every single day. Every day has not been perfect, but I show up to the best of my abilities every single day. And that has compounded over time and to something I'm really proud of today.
Hey. All right. All right. So, Matt, you can go ahead and invite Brad to the stage
Okay.
and invite him, and then I will give you the next people.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right, cool.
What's up, Brad? How are we doing?
Hey, good man. How you doing, bro?
Good, man. I'm super happy to have you on here. I'll give you a quick introduction, then I'll let you do your thing. But this is my cousin Brad. One of the most amazing, if not the most amazing testimony I've ever heard in my life, man. Serious. It's been a huge journey for you, and we've recently connected more. Obviously we're family, but we've been talking a lot more lately, and it's been a really cool experience, and I look forward to more of that in the future. But at one point over 500, and what was it, 15 pounds, something like that. Heavily addicted to drugs, running around with some people you might not have should have been running around with, and look at you now. You're training for your first
Look at me
bodybuilding
now.
show. You're
Right.
sober. You got your family. You got a
Praise
great,
God.
yeah, praise God, man. And I'll leave it at that. And I want to hear what you have to say about that because you tell your story much better than I do, man.
All right. Okay, cool. Thanks. Well, yeah, my name's Brad. So 11 years ago, I was living a much different life. I'd gotten to the point where I had hit, I guess, what you would call rock bottom. First time I used drugs, I was 11. I'd grown up in a real broken home. My earliest memory was, my parents splitting and my dad taking me from California, my mother up to Canada. And it was, it was pretty traumatic for me I was a young kid. I was only 5. And, coming with that, it brought up a lot of, things growing up. I was a scared little kid. I had a lot of fear, a lot of self-doubt, struggled with a lot of insecurities and that. I never felt safe. So that first time when I, smoked marijuana when I was 11, it freed me from all that. And for the next 25 years, that's just what I was chasing. I was chasing that freedom from that anxiety and, trying to shield myself from being that scared little kid. I wanted to become somebody that, was unapproachable or, nobody thought they could hurt sort of thing. Drugs got harder. Life got a lot darker. Started doing some things that, getting involved with people that were just as broken as I was, and just started going down this bad hole. So, it progressed to the point where basically I was losing everything. I was a single dad at the time. So I was failing as a father. I was failing as a friend, a brother. I got to the point where, I really hated myself. So 2015, I was 36 years old. I had ballooned up to about 500 pounds. I had a problem with food as well as drugs, which is kind of like a ticking time bomb, I guess you could say. But I just gotten to the point where things started falling apart. For a long time, I thought I had, people fooled that I was successful in my job, and I was holding it down on one side, but I was almost living 2 lives. The face that I wanted people to see was successful, had my stuff together, and good dad and all these different things. But on the other side, I was a severe addict. I couldn't be trusted, and it was just getting to the point where my life started falling apart. I remember, towards right around the point where I started deciding I needed to change my life. It just got to the point where I couldn't take anymore. There was one point, I was driving home, and my little guy was at home, and I was driving home after work, and I just got overcome with this anxiety, and I pulled into this parking lot, and I was sitting there staring at this brick wall and just contemplating, driving into it because I just, I couldn't take it anymore. But I thought about my little guy, and what would happen if something like that happened, and so I just went on, and shortly after that, I was witness to some things, and it just made me contemplate my life. A good friend of mine was shot, and I was there to witness that, and it just made me started thinking, like I was going down the wrong path and doing things that just were against my character, and I needed to make a change, or I was going to end up, dead or in prison or just losing absolutely everything. So basically, what I did was I grabbed my kid and packed a bag and left everything I owned, everybody I knew, and moved a couple provinces over. Provinces are like states in Canada. And I moved to this place called Winnipeg, Manitoba. Didn't know anybody. Thought just, getting there and getting clean off drugs was going to solve a lot of my problems. And what I found was it wasn't, because then I had to sort of start facing the things that I'd done in my life, and the mess that I'd made of it. So Went for about a year, and it was probably the loneliest time that I had in my life. Struggled with a lot of guilt, a lot of shame. A lot of things started coming back to me with the things that I had done, and just kind of the damage I'd caused and the people that I had hurt, and taken advantage of, and kind of just had to deal with all those things, mentally and emotionally. And it just got to the point where, I went through a real heavy depression. Really started eating myself to death. Like Matt was saying, I had gotten up to about 510 pounds. And it got to the point where, I felt like my life was over. I hated who I'd become. And, I was 36 years old, and I thought my life was done. So, my mom, she, growing up, she'd always tell me about, Jesus and God and all these things. And as much as as great as it sounded, I didn't believe it. I was living in so much darkness. It was just real hard to kind of contemplate that was even possible. And if it was possible, I didn't think it was, possible for somebody like myself. And I didn't think I was worthy of forgiveness and whatnot. So she calls me one day and she tells me about my cousin. And my cousin, growing up, my cousin Marvin, I'd heard all these stories about him, and it was kind of somebody that I looked up to. Like, I looked at him almost like an outlaw type figure. And so she tells me to check his Facebook out, and I go on his Facebook, and here's this little guy, and he's tattooed head to toe, and he's thanking this Jesus guy for his job and waking up during the day and all this sort of thing. And it kind of hit me. It wasn't the God thing at first that got me. It was the freedom that he had, and that was something that I was craving so bad, because I never felt that. I never felt settled. So I look up, I couldn't stop thinking about this. So I ended up looking up Christian Motorcycle Club Winnipeg, and I had found this group called the Bond Slaves. And so they had this little church. It was a biker church. So I called my mom and like, hey, mom, there's this church, and it's like a biker church and all this sort of thing. And she goes, well, you're going to go to that church. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do this. So she ends up coming to visit me to make me go to this church. Sits me, like first couple pews. I'm 500 pounds. I'm tattooed. I'm angry. And I did not feel like I belonged there at all. But, sitting there, I was just, uncomfortable. What got me was, this guy had walked in. His name's Gavin, he's a big Irish guy. And he didn't even know me. Like he picks me up, he wraps his arms around me, and he tells me, God loves me. But the thing that got me the most was he looked at me at this one point and he goes, God showed me you're a good man. You don't even realize it. And that just really got to me, and I had never felt like that at that point, and I definitely didn't believe that that's what I was. But here's this guy that didn't even know me that did it. So, I didn't want to let him down at that point. So, I started going to church. I started doing all, the things that I thought was the right things and trying to fix my life. And I was doing okay. Went for about a year, really trying to believe, what they were telling me and trying to figure it out and just trying to kind of figure out what my path and whatnot was. I would say that, I wanted to believe it, but my faith wasn't real strong at that point. I still had a lot of doubts. So going about a year, I think what really made me decide to change was I in 2017, I had been clean for about a year. And I was, doing the church thing, I was working, I was trying to do the right things. And I ended up going to, I ruptured my esophagus. So I ended up in the hospital. I was in a coma for 6 weeks. And it was pretty bad. I had passed away, or they were saying I was going to pass away. My family was there. Like, it was kind of real dire situation. And but during this coma, I was having these dreams. And the last dream that I had before I woke up, I could feel myself dying. And essentially, just make a long story short, basically what happened was, during this dream, I didn't see, a figure or anything like that. But basically what I felt was I felt myself going, and along with that, this light came out, and I just felt this sense of peace, like that I had never felt before. And it kept saying inside of me, it was like, you're okay. Your kids are okay. You know where you're going. And what that piece did for me was it made me realize, that there was something there. It just really instilled my faith. So I ended up coming out of this coma, and I wake up and my kidneys had failed. My lungs had collapsed. I had tubes hanging out of me. I was intubated, and I had no idea where I was, but I knew I was going to be okay because this voice had told me I was going to be okay. I prayed every day. I said, God, if you want me here, obviously, and if you give me a chance to be remembered for somebody that I'm not, I'm gonna make the most of it. Just use me. You know, just use me as your fingers, use me as whatever you need to do. And I want to be I want to be the man that, you deemed me to be from the beginning. So, my kidneys come back. I end up getting out of the hospital. It was a miracle. I get through all this, and here I am. I started losing weight. I started learning about nutrition, diet, all these sort of things, and now here I am. 11 years later, and I'm going to be clean 11 years in November. Even tell you the last time I used a drug. I live my life a lot different. I focus on health. I'm married to an incredible woman. God's blessed me with a family. I've got 3 great boys, an amazing wife, and I live every day like it's extra. So I concentrate on that. And 11 years ago, when I thought my life was over, here I am at 46, and I'm going to school. I'm trying to learn how to be a fitness, a trainer and a nutritionist, and I'm doing all these things that I've never done before. I'm training for a bodybuilding competition. And 11 years ago I was 510 pounds and could barely get out of bed. And it's just, God's blessed me every day. I wake up and I'm grateful, not just for sobriety, but God's transformed that. But it's physically, spiritually, mentally, the whole bit. When they talk about reborn, like I feel like I'm completely reborn. And I just now I want to concentrate. I want to help people open their eyes and their hearts like mine were opened, and I've got a big heart for that. And I just life's good, man. And I just, out of all the things that I've learned, and if my story's taught me anything, it's just your story's not over. You might, one little circumstance, one little thing, find your purpose. If you find that purpose and you drive towards that, anything's possible, and God's going to bless you, and you just have to keep the faith and keep going. You know what I mean? It's just, there's so much life to live. You just have to have the freedom to live it. And that's what sobriety's done for me. It's just given me the freedom to live my life and to be the best version that I can, best father, best friend, best son, and be a man that's worth remembering, not the person I was before. So but yeah, I guess that's my story. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Brad. I really appreciate you jumping on here and sharing, a little bit of some insight into your journey and how it's been so far. And I'm super proud of you, man. I love keeping in contact with you and talking to you. We text pretty often, and just it
Proud of you
inspires.
too, cuz.
Yeah, man. Thank you. I
Proud of
appreciate
you
it a
too,
lot.
man.
I'm excited to see what happens when you step on that bodybuilding stage. I know
Come
you
on
got,
now. Look at
yeah, let's go.
that.
You got connected with some really cool people, man. It's nothing short of a miracle. It's just like taking the next right step,
Yeah.
and God introduces those people into your life. So
That's
thank
right,
you.
man. Surround yourself with good people and God's going to bless you. So,
Amen, man.
right on.
I appreciate you. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Love you, cuz. Talk soon.
Bye. All right. Up next, we have Dylan Grove. I'll give him a minute to get in here. Oh, there we go. What's up, Dylan? How you doing today?
Hey Matt, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Of course, I'll give you a quick intro, but I want you to tell your story because you got an amazing story as well, man. And that's what this is all about, is just people that have gone through the worst and turned their life around and not only survived but thrived, right? That's the goal. And you actually work at the rehab that I originally went to back in early 2017, the Santa Barbara Rescue Mission, the place
Yep.
that literally saved my life. And I was his first drug test, man. So,
Yeah,
um,
I'm here right now. Might hear some craziness happening in the background.
I appreciate you, man. I'll let you take it away and just and tell, as much about your journey as you want. And yeah, go ahead. Take it away.
For sure. Yeah, thank you so much, Matt. Appreciate the opportunity. I it's hard to even like fathom or think about the reality of being able to sit here and talk about a life that I have built in the last 10 plus years as a sober man, as a sober person in the world. I think that a lot of people who experience addiction know what it's like to be in the bottom of the barrel, the lowest of the low. And I don't necessarily mean like externally, but more so internally. When addiction or drugs and alcohol are the thing that is destroying you and destroying everything around you, and you want to stop but can't stop, have every reason in the world to stop but can't stop, and just continue living in that cycle of hopelessness. To finally, and like we know that in society not very many people recover from addiction and um build a new life. It's just not like statistically we know that most people die or go to prison or stay in the perpetual cycle until they die. And so to be able to be here and actually have something to contribute to society and contribute to you, Matt, and to this event, it's really hard to put into words when I do these kind of things because it's just something that I never thought was possible. So thank you so much for considering me to be a part of this. I have been sober since August 22nd of 2015. I have worked as a counselor in treatment at the Santa Barbara Rescue Mission, a nonprofit treatment center, homeless shelter for almost 10 years. And I have a bachelor's degree in psychology. I have state counseling certification. I've traveled all over the world. I host a community radio show. I have a 12-year-old son who I am an active, present father in his life. I have meaningful relationships. That's what my life is like now. But 11 years ago, I was living under the 91 freeway in Corona, California. And I was shooting heroin, and I had hep C, and I had abscesses up and down my arms. I was in and out of county jail frequently. I had lost my son to CWS, and I had not spoken to my family in about 2 years. And I think for anyone that anyone that has experienced addiction or alcoholism or it's like what I started out with is like I did not want to live that way. I grew up in a with a mom. My mom had me when she was 18. My parents were divorced. My dad was a very violent, abusive, mean person who I didn't who I didn't really like to be around. I was back and forth between my parents my whole life. I could have played college baseball, but um, I don't know if it was because of the trauma that I endured or I had friends. I never felt uncomfortable. Um, I just felt like a lot of pressure and a lot of stress and a lot of pain when I was a kid and when I was a young teenager. And the first time I ingested a substance, I was like, oh, whew, like the ease and comfort. And I didn't know that feeling would be the feeling that ruled my entire life for the next 11 years. And the addiction is the obsession that I have, and that I had to use drugs and alcohol is an obsession, is a thought that outweighs every other thought that could creep into my mind and stop it. And that is um, that's a scary place to be. Um, no matter what I tried to do, no matter what the consequences were, the obsession to use drugs, to use heroin and to drink was going to push out every other thought in my mind as to why I shouldn't do it. And I think what I really wanted to talk about today was these two things that were very sick and very dark before I got sober, and two things that are very light and very bright in my life today, and is perception and connection. And my perception of the world when I was 24 and I was, living under the freeway and lost everything, was that everything always happened to me. And if my, kid's mom didn't do this, and the cops didn't show up at this time and arrest me at this place, and if my mom didn't kick me out when I was 18, then I wouldn't be living under the freeway, shooting black tar heroin with Hep C, on the verge of dying with no meaning and no purpose in my life. If only those things outside of myself would have been different, then I would be different, and my life would be different, and I would have played college baseball, and I would be a father, um, and that's just not what I have learned is true in recovery, and in the process of getting sober and being a person in recovery. And I, by some divine act of providence, ended up at a treatment center in Santa Barbara that was free. And I had no opinions, no resistance, no defiance left in me. I was truly stripped of everything that made up any type of identity that people have. My identity was that I was a heroin addict, and I went to jail, and that I hated myself, and I hated life, and it was everyone else's fault. And that was my perception. My perception of life was fueled by self-centeredness, selfishness, fear, resentment. I was inconsiderate. I harmed other people. Um, and I had no ability to look within, to see that I was the one who set these things in motion. And so I came to this rehab, and I I it's really hard to explain what happens to people when I think, or to myself, when this whole thing starts. But I experienced like this connection with other people, and this connection with myself, and this connection with a power greater than myself, that was something that I had been missing in my life for such a long time. um and that's when I was, and I can be this way sober too, but disconnected from myself, disconnected from other people, and disconnected from whatever that power is, that spiritual power is that I've tapped into. And what I've learned in recovery is that is that connection is the opposite of addiction. Addiction to me is isolation and disconnection. And what I've learned in recovery over the years is that I must be connected to other people. I must be connected to myself, and the ability to look inward at what am I doing that is causing you know issues in my life, because no one makes me resentful, no one makes me afraid, no one no one is to blame for the things that are happening that I find unacceptable in my life. Those things are my responsibility. And I think getting deep into the work of recovery, and in respect of the traditions of these groups, there are these groups that have 12 suggestions, and they are attended by many people who have this affliction, and through that, I've learned that that connection to myself, to other people, and to a higher power is mandatory for my survival. My life is contingent on being a person in recovery, and if I am not a person in recovery, I will die. And that is the 100% like truth about what what this thing is. So and by being able to be of service, by going out of my way and not getting paid to do this stuff, not advertising this all over, the place, that I'm this person that does all these things, and but showing up and inconveniencing myself to help other people that are struggling, and to be humble about that, and to say less and do more, and to contribute more than I consume and give more than I take. All these things and these principles and this personality change and these values that I've created for myself through, following this path of recovery by other people that have gone before me. Those are the things that allow me to have the life that I have. Um, and that's, it's really, I've watched so many people die. My own mom died from alcoholism and drinking in 2018. My son's mom died in 2020. Um, I haven't had an uncle that died last year from alcoholism. Growing up, my grandma overdosed, my other uncle overdosed. I've worked in this treatment center for years, and I've seen so many people die, and friends. And the one thing that they all have had in common is that they thought that they were bigger than this thing, and thought that their own self-reliance and self could beat addiction. And I believe in my innermost self that recovery is it happens in connections with other people in community, and getting out of self, and being held accountable by another person to do these things. And I really believe that is the formula. I wouldn't be here today without that. There's a greater power at work here, and my job is to prepare myself as best I can to be of service to those around me and to whatever that power is. And so I think that's about 12 minutes. Yeah, and anyone listening, don't ever give up. Reach out for help. There's people out there that will help you. And Matt, thank you so much. You are a huge inspiration to me. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Dylan, thank you so much, man. I really, really appreciate you coming on here and sharing your testimony, and I hope you enjoyed it yourself. Appreciate you, man. Yeah, just keep helping change lives like you helped change mine, man. I really am serious. You guys, dude, I speak so highly of the Santa Barbara Rescue Mission, all the staff there, as often as I possibly can, because I've been to a lot of rehabs, and there has never been one like the Santa Barbara Rescue Mission. Um, I think one of the biggest things that makes your guys' place different is the fact that everyone, at least on the front lines, is a graduate. And that was my biggest issue with a lot of the places I went, where these people didn't really understand what I was going through. And you can't say that to you or anyone else that works there. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
it's
It's
a
true, man.
so true. It's so true. Like, you've done all of it. So thank you,
Thank
man.
you. Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah. I love you, brother. Have a good day. All
Love you
right.
too, man.
Bye. All right. Next up, we have Daniel Vasquez, and I'm really, really excited for him to come on and share his story. I won't ruin too much, but to go from prison to UCLA is a pretty powerful testimony, and I'll let him fill in all the blanks and tell about each of those things that I was just talking about, and share his journey, because he's going to tell it better than I am. So, Daniel, thank you for taking time out of your day to jump on here, and I'll let you take it away and share your story.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Thanks for having me. Okay, so hello, everybody. My name is Daniel Vasquez. I'm actually from Santa Maria, California, just about an hour north of Santa Barbara. And today I'm a program manager. I'm a transferring UCLA student. I'm a father. I'm a son, but that hasn't always been the case. I mean, I grew up in Santa Maria, California, with a drug addict mother and father. My mother took off when I was a baby. She left me with my grandma and my dad. And kind of like from there, I had a sense of like abandonment issues, not having a mom, not knowing why my mom left. So growing up, it was kind of different for me. I had a stepmom that came into my life that my dad had married when I was 3, and she played a big part, and she still plays a big part in my life today. But just something about my biological mom taking off at a young age just kind of did something to me, and I didn't really know. It's hindsight looking back at it now, but I didn't know then. But yeah, growing up, my dad did kind of the best he could. I played sports, baseball, basketball, football. I was real into wrestling. I was real into sports as a kid. And my dad struggled. He struggled with alcoholism, with drug addiction, cocaine, heroin, meth. But he always kind of like held down a job. He held down a job, and I knew he wanted the best for me. Like I said, putting me in all these sports and coaching and stuff like that. But I feel like now that he kind of like overdid it. And so by the time I got to high school, I kind of got like burnt out. I wrestled varsity as a freshman. Um, I played football for high school football. And then, it's just like I kind of started getting in trouble, and it was kind of reflective off of the what was going on at home. My dad and my stepmother were always fighting. My dad he was using meth heavily, so he was always taking off. He was selling drugs, um, and so he was kind of in and out of the household, cheating on my mom, things like that. So it was just like the household wasn't stable. And as a high school kid, I kind of like started developing this attitude of I'm going to do what I want. I don't have anybody here really um, to discipline me in that sense, or just show me how to grow up and be a man, really. With my father being always gone, it just and just being stuck with my stepmom in the household. Like I said, I started drinking and started partying with my friends in high school, and that just started off innocent with just drinking. We'd go and steal bottles, and we smoke weed. And like I wasn't getting any income, like my dad didn't have like a bunch of money, so I didn't have like my own funds. So from that young age, I had uncles and cousins that I kind of looked up to that they would sell drugs, they would sell weed, they would sell pills, meth, whatever it was. And so I just seen the type of money that kind of brought in. So it just started with me. I just started getting weed from my uncle and just selling weed, and that's what I did. And it was kind of like innocent. I was just selling weed to support my habit. I'd be staying with my friends. I started running away from home because I was no longer in high school. All my dreams of sports, aspirations, things like that, they went away because as a kid, like when I was wrestling, I was dedicated. I really enjoyed it. And then when I got to high school, I was on varsity as a freshman, placed third in league, went to CIF, did okay as a freshman, not bad for, just making varsity that first year. And then after I got kicked out of school for fighting, um, I got kicked out. I got expelled. The first year it was the first fight expelled. They let me come back, and then I got another fight, and that was that. But what I'm getting at is that that's where the behavior started. Like all the sports. Once the sports were gone, it was like just survival in the streets and getting high, and I had to support my own habit. And the selling of weed or whatever, it was innocently just to keep the habit going. And so that's what I did. I started selling weed, and then it progressed to pills. Um, and then I remember one of my girlfriends at the time, she's like, "Hey, you ever tried Oxycontin?" And I was like, "No, but like, my uncle gets those. I sell those." And I remember doing my first line, and I felt great. And at that moment, I was like, "Wow, this is good." And that's what I did. I started doing Oxycontin's pills like that, just real innocent. And I had the mindset because I didn't like the way my dad was living, so I was like, "Oh, I'm not going to be a tweaker. I'm not going to do meth. I'm not going to do heroin." Needles weren't even just on my mind at all, but at some point, the Oxycontin, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. So, I remember my first time I ever kind of like got sick from not having any opiates, like physically dope sick. I didn't know, I took mushrooms one day, I tripped out. The next day I decided to take more mushrooms, and then like my trip got dark, and then I remember going to my uncle's room, and I was like, bawling. I was crying in tears. I was like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't feel good. I'm having a bad trip. Um, and I sat there like smoking weed, trying to feel better, and it wasn't working. And I remember I did a line of some Oxycontin, and I felt better instantly. And I kind of like at that moment I was like, oh man, like I'm kind of in deep here. Um, and fast forward, that progressed. Before it wasn't before long. I had friends or people that I would sell these pills to that were shooting up, and then I had a needle in my arm. And then that led to heroin. At some point I couldn't get the pills anymore, and like I remember specifically doing these pills, justifying it like it's a pill. I know what I'm getting. Heroin's dirty. I'll never do heroin. And then next thing you know, I'm strung out on heroin. And then, so what am I doing? I'm keeping this same lifestyle behavior of selling drugs. So now I got to sell heroin. I got to sell meth. I got to sell these other things just to keep this habit going because um, drugs, they're not cheap. Um, they're not, you know? And so this behavior it kept going, and I remember like I'd have stints where I try to stop, I'd go to the methadone clinic once again, not really knowing what that was, just like, oh, you could get better, just go take methadone. And methadone for me, it's, it was bad news. I ended up getting strung out on that for a little bit too. But I remember always like not intentionally wanting to be like a drug addict, dopey, like that wasn't the plan. That wasn't my life goal. That was, you know, um, and it just I got stuck quick, and it just happened so fast as a kid. So I'm like 16, 17 years old, uh shooting up oxycons, and like I said, it went to heroin. And then I kind of, well, I'll fast forward a little bit. Then I met my baby's mom, and I had a son, and I was gonna get clean for my kid, and I was gonna be a good dad. And I tried to balance that for like a year, and it didn't work. The drugs already had me. I was stuck. So that led to me getting in trouble, like with drugs and sales and that kind of stuff. I think I got pulled over and I got arrested and I had a little bit of drugs on me. No big deal. They sent me to jail. They put me in drug court. The courts were trying to do um, whatever the due process was at that point, drug court. They didn't just send you to prison at that time for a little bit of drugs. So I was in drug court and I couldn't stop getting high, and then next thing you know, I have to turn myself in for a couple weeks. So I take drugs in with me to county jail because I don't want to be sick in there. And I got homies in there that want me to bring them drugs, just bad people, bad circle I was in at that moment. It was no longer hanging out with high school kids and athletes. I was hanging out with gang members and other drug dealers. So I'm taking drugs in for myself and for them, and I get caught. I get told on, and I now I'm going to court for bringing drugs into the county jail, and I'm at first I'm going to drug court, and the drug court guy's like, dude, what are you doing? The judge, he's like, we can't have you in my courtroom. You want to bring drugs into the county jail, then, uh, I'll see you later. And basically that was it. It was 2 years with half state prison, or it was a program and like 5 years felony probation. And so I decided to go to prison. That was my mindset. That was my thinking. Like I said, the crowd of people I was hanging out with, I was just brainwashed in a negative way. Like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna go to prison for 2 years. I could come home. I'll meet people there. I'll come home and I'll have some kind of status. Like I had some like facade of having some kind of like gangster status. Um, that wasn't real. So I go to prison for a couple years. I come home. When I get to prison, I realize, prison's not everything it's cracked up to be. So I want to come home and I want to do good. But like my mindset at the time was like, I'm just gonna get a job and I'm just gonna drink. I don't have a problem with alcohol. So that's what I did. I got a job and I drank, and then that led to pills, and then that led to more trouble. And then next thing you know, I'm back in prison. For this time it was a little more serious. Uh, I ended up picking up a kidnapping case. I was selling drugs at the time once again, and somebody owed me some money, and I wasn't really, without going too into too much detail, basically snatched this dude up, and we had him at an unfavorable situation for him, and the cops got called, and next thing you know, I'm back in county jail, and I'm fighting a kidnapping case, kidnapping with conspiracy to commit extortion, and I'm looking at life. I'm looking at life in prison now. So I remember sitting in county jail once again, like, dude, how did I let this drug addiction get out of hand? How did I let this get here to where now I'm looking at the rest of my life in prison because of actions that I'm taking over selling drugs? So I ended up sitting in the county jail for over a year, and I'm fighting this case, and fortunately I got it dropped down to assault with a deadly weapon and extortion, and I did a few more years for that. Once again, in prison, uh, really didn't stop doing anything. I'm still trying to hustle in prison at this point, making Pruno, making wine, and I'm doing whatever I could. And same thing, I'm gonna come home and I'm gonna do something different. So once again, I come home, I'm on parole. I do this parole program called the DRC. Um, I came out to Santa Barbara. I came out to Santa Barbara to get clean before, but before I did that, it was cleaning up just to get the courts off of my back, to get my family off my back, maybe even to get a little healthy. I was just gonna clean up a little bit and then go back on the streets. And I didn't really want to give up that lifestyle, that mentality. It was the way I was living. It was selling drugs. And so in 2016, after my second prison term, after I came home, I'm in a program in Santa Barbara. I'm in a program called Newhouse. And I'm here at Newhouse, and I wanted to clean up. Like I knew I had a problem, but I just assumed my problem was drugs and alcohol. So, but I didn't want to stop the way I was living. I didn't like. I love the income from selling drugs. So I kept selling drugs, and I remember living actually in the house that I'm the program manager at today. You know, I was living at this house in 2016, and I had guns and drugs, and it wasn't it wasn't a safe spot for anybody that was around me. But I wanted to get clean, and that's what I did. I sold drugs, and that eventually took me back out because I was straddling the fence of recovery. I'm just glad that a seed was planted. I got to go to meetings, and I got to meet people that were like-minded, that were trying to change their life, and that was good. So a seed was planted, but like I said, I was still living dirty in my mind. I didn't change anything. My perception on life, I still wanted to hustle. I still had negative, just was negative about the system and how things are corrupt, and I really wasn't focused on myself and what was wrong with me. So that took me back out, went back to went back to the streets, you know, and then I get caught again, once again, and this time I get caught with some guns and some drugs. And the courts had basically were tired of me. The district attorney was tired of it. The judge was tired of it. They sentenced me to 7 years, 4 months, back to state prison. And I go back to prison, and same thing. You know, I got to prison. I was pretty broken. I was pretty depressed. I was pretty defeated. Wasn't done yet, you know, but I knew I was just like, damn, you know, 7 years, 4 months. What am I going to do with my life? I got arrested in my 20s. Um, you know, I'm not going to parole till I'm 30, 34, 35 years old, you know? And so still the first couple years I'm running amok in prison, you know, I'm still getting high. I'm still making Pruno. I'm making White Lightning moonshine, and I'm running around selling drugs, doing anything I could just to get high. And you know, and that went for a good solid 2 or 3 years this time in prison. And then I remember you know, for a minute I got in trouble. I'm in the hole. Uh and now I'm sitting in ad seg, and I don't have no drugs, I don't have no alcohol, I don't have anything, you know. I sober up, and I have like a moment of clarity in there. And I think this is 3 years in, so 28, 29, I'm 31 years old. I'm sitting in ad seg on a level 4 yard in prison, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, is this it? Like, is this it for my life, you know? Look around, you know, look around, look at the prison walls, look at the cell, look at everything around you right now, and accept this as home. Or do something different. And kind of like at that moment, I realized that, you know, it wasn't the drugs or the alcohol that was the problem. It was me that was the problem. And I needed to do something different to change me and who I am and my perception and what I got going on in my life. So, um, you know, the intentions were good. So I was like, I'm going to put the stuff down, you know, do my time in ad seg. I get back to the yard, and with the mindset like, okay, I'm going to behave, you know, and I kind of did for a little bit, but unfortunately there wasn't like, wasn't working any kind of program. I wasn't helping others. I wasn't able to like be of service. I didn't even know any of this stuff now that I'll get into, but I was trying to chill out. But if anything came to my cell, somebody slid some heroin under the door, some wine, I was gonna drink it because I didn't really have a defense, you know. Um, and I did that for a couple years too. Like I said, I chilled out. I stopped selling. I stopped running around. For the most part, I was doing pretty good. And I had every intention to come back to Santa Barbara when I was released. And so. The day I'm released, my family comes to pick me up, and what do? The first thing I do, I stop at, you know, I have $200 gate money and nothing. I have nothing to my name, and I spend some of that money, and I go buy some Fireball whiskey at the liquor store, or at Walmart, excuse me, because I felt like I didn't have a problem with alcohol, you know. And I'd been gone for over 6, 7 years, you know, and I remember getting some Fireball whiskey, and I was like, who's gonna drink with me? And nobody was. They were done with me. They were like, no, you're on your own. If that's the decision you choose to make, then that's on you. So, sure enough, you know, I drank by myself for a little bit. And then a couple days go by, and I just kind of like felt like, you know what, Daniel, you're doing the same thing. Why don't you go back to Santa Barbara and get some help? So, once again, with nothing, I called up to Santa Barbara. I called Newhouse. I was like, hey, I don't have any money. I need some help before this gets out of hand. And I remember them telling me, just get up here. Get up here and everything's gonna be all right. But this time the difference when I came up to Santa Barbara to clean up was my mentality. You know, I kind of accepted defeat. I accepted that um just I was just powerless over everything. And you know, I didn't know how to live life. You know, I've been in and out of prison. All I've done is sold drugs. You know, I'm not a really good father. I'm not a good son. I'm not a good person in general, and I need to learn how to live life. So I came in here really willing. I had the gift of desperation, and I was willing to do whatever I could, take suggestion. And I came in with hit the ground running. And I didn't know anything, which is okay. I didn't know what was going to happen. I just had faith that if I didn't pick up any drugs or alcohol, that somehow it would be okay. So I came in here with the mindset like I'm going to do all the things that I don't want to do. I got to do all the shit I don't want to do. Excuse my language, but that was my mindset. Do all the shit you don't want to do, and that's what I did. Anytime somebody asked me to be of service. It started off with a lot of service. It was volunteering. It was helping. It's feeding the homeless. It's going and volunteering for organization nonprofits. Families feeding families. We go to Costco and we go shopping for families who can't afford groceries, and we go drop it off in low income housing on the west side. I've done that for 3 years. I decided that I was gonna paint, got a job, was paying rent, and a position opened up here at the house, and it was a cook position. And I was thinking, like, they asked me, "Hey, do you want to work for the house?" And I was like, Sure, I'll be like a program manager. I'll do something like that, general manager. Sure, I'll run this place." And they're like, "No, we want you to cook." And I'm like, "I'm not cooking." Um, and I slept on it, and they asked me to reconsider. And once again, do the stuff you don't want to do, Daniel. So I took the cook position. And that actually ended up being great, feeding guys, giving guys that come into the house their first meal of the day. Some of these guys come from the streets, and they don't have it like that. So for them to get a good meal in the morning, that was, I made it mean something to me. And then another position opened up for the position I'm at now, is program manager. Hey, we'd like you to be considered being the program manager. And I took the position, and that's given me the opportunity to um, go back to school as well. And then it was like, okay, I'm going to go back to school. Uh, and honestly, like I started taking classes at City College. I started going to school to stay busy, because stay busy with my time. I had too much free time, so I'm going to take a class here, and that's what I did. I took a class here and there just to stay out of trouble. And then I was doing computer science stuff, and I was like, okay, this is cool, but do I want to do this with my life? And I didn't want to go and do like the drug and alcohol counseling. Like, to me, in my mind, I was self-conscious about it, and I was like, this is too cliche. I'm gonna get a few months clean and sober, and then I'm gonna be a drug and alcohol counselor. I don't want to do that. So I kind of started thinking outside the box, and I changed my major to sociology, and then I started taking classes, and then I started getting good grades and passing these classes. And then I went from a class or two per semester to, next thing you know, I have a full load. And next thing you know, I could see myself going somewhere with this. And um, next, before you know it, I'm on honor roll, and I have straight A's, and I'm doing great in class. I'm doing good in school. I'm going full time. I'm working. Um, and then just lifestyle changes I started making, from going to school to holding a job to getting back into fitness, to exercise, to getting up and going to the gym in the morning, waking up at 5, grinding, 5 in the morning, I'm going to the gym. Then I'm coming back from the gym, I'm showering, then I'm going to school. I'm going to school, and then I come to work, and then I'm working here at this program from 3 to 11. And then it's like rinse and repeat, get up and do it over again. And sometimes in the morning, it's hard to get up. It's hard to, to do all this. But back to the school, before I knew it, like I got a couple more classes, and I'm gonna have an associate's in sociology, and I'm like, okay, that's cool, I'll do that. And then, there was a tag program that would let me tag into UCSB, and I was like, if I get good grades, then I could maybe tag in there, and that was kind of like my mindset. So when it came time to graduating, it was time to put in applications. So I started putting applications to colleges, not just the tag opportunity for UCSB, but I put in for Merced, Riverside, UCLA, UCSB, and then I started getting acceptance letters. And like I said, I still had it. I still had my mindset to be program manager, go to UCSB. It's going to be convenient. I live in Santa Barbara. Like, since I'm a program manager here, I got it made. I have it made where I'm at. I could live at the program, not have to pay rent, and then go to UCSB, and then it'd be right here, and it'd just be super convenient. And then I remember I got my acceptance letter, the fourth to the last one that came in was UCLA, and I got the acceptance letter there, and that was a game changer. I was like, oh my, what am I going to do? So I had to think, and I had to decide on what I was going to do, stay here in Santa Barbara and do what I had mapped out, or get out of my comfort zone and do something different. And so I decided that I was going to take them up for the offer at UCLA. And so now I'm proud to sit here and tell you guys, and I'm not doing all this to brag, but I'm sharing my story with maybe somebody who's going to be watching one day, that might be struggling, or that might be new in recovery, that might not think that, the end game doesn't have to be, just a simple job, a dead end job, or whatever, you can dream and you can have aspirations and dreams and hopes. And it's been my experience that I've been able to accomplish all these things. And it's been baby steps, one baby step at a time, one class at a time, one assignment at a time. And it starts to add up, and it's added up to where I'm at today. And today, like I mentioned, I'm a good father today. My son's in my life. My family's in my life. I have a cat that's never seen me loaded. That means anything. I have a wonderful girlfriend that's by my side that's been helping me along this journey, and I'm getting ready to move to UCLA. And it's yeah, that's basically what's going on. I'm moving to UCLA, and I'm excited for the rest of my journey. So I probably went over on my time, but like I said, if I could give any hope, or um, if I could be, just from a drug addict, heroin addict, shooting heroin in his neck to prison to UCLA. I hope that resonates with somebody, and somebody can get the hope that they could do that as well. So thank you.
Dude, thank you so much, Daniel, for jumping on here and sharing your story. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to do that. It means a lot to me, and I know there's going to be people that come across this and are inspired by what you've got going on, because I think a lot of us, like I've said before, have limiting beliefs on what we're able to accomplish. And I see people like you who go back to school, and OCO is another one I think of as well, and just um, really just break down those walls, those limiting beliefs, and do crazy things, man. UCLA, like that's a pretty amazing school to get into. So thank you.
Yeah, no, it's great, and I seen who you got on this lineup. So if you guys are tuned in, Matt put together a good lineup for today, so it'll be great.
Appreciate you, man. Have a good day. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, bro. Thank you.
All right. Next up, we have a good friend of mine, Eric Corvin. He's actually a graduate of the Rescue Mission, which is the same place that I graduated from. And I'll let him get in here in just a moment and introduce himself as well. But he's got a military background, and he is doing some, for lack of a better word, amazing things with his life today as far as veterans go and recovery and fitness. And take it away, Eric, because you're going to tell it a lot better than me.
All right. Well, good afternoon from Northwest Arkansas. Like Matt, I'm a product of the Santa Barbara Rescue Mission. My sponsor is a graduate from the Rescue Mission as well. So I'll kind of just cut it off from the chase from the start. I was born and raised in San Diego, California. I grew up happy, amazing family. The drugs and alcohol and addiction really didn't creep into me much later in my life. I joined the Navy at the age of 18. I was a naval nuclear mechanic. I did that for a number of years. I continued to grow and make rank and do a lot of incredible things in that. And then we'll kind of fast forward. I ended up becoming a naval officer. I was commissioned based on my enlisted performance. After that time, I wasn't really noticing you could call it the demon creeping in with addiction. It was a work hard, play hard mentality. And that's what ended up destroying my 16-year of service to this country, was my drinking and drug use. I received a DUI, and that basically was inevitably killed my career. I'll tell you right now, second hardest thing I've ever done next to getting sober is losing that purpose. I identified completely having that uniform on. And that was one of the hardest things you could ever let go for a man at my age. I was 35 when I was exited out of the military, and I chased purpose again, and I never really found it until I got sober. So kind of fast forward, I ended up moving back to San Diego from Virginia after I hanged up my officer uniform, got saluted off that ship for the last time, and I walked off in a lot of shame, depression, failure, whatever you want to call it. So the drinking and the drug use just really took its toll when I got back into San Diego, the place I kind of in a way ran from, place I didn't want to be myself anymore. I ended up getting a job back with the Navy. I was a project support engineer, and I was helping kind of give that purpose back because I was kind of serving in a way just differently with the civilian clothes. And I started getting more tattooed. I was partying harder. The drinking was getting ugly. I wrecked my motorcycles, going in and out of toxic relationships, and depression was really taking a hold of me. And that loss of purpose really it was tough. About a year after I got out, I started going to church, and that's something you would never find me in. The military was a different world. I didn't really know what to believe in. I was programmed to do one thing, and I was very good at it. And then they took that away from me, and I needed to get another program in my life. And then God entered my life through men, other veterans that invited me to a church. It was called Awaken. It's in San Marcos, California, not too far from my home. And I got prayed over for the first time in my life, and I got taken to it. On top of that, I started getting a degree. I was now a security guy at the church. I was full involved in the connect groups and doing all these great things, but still something was super, I could call it like a quicksand effect. The more you try to run and get away from addiction or myself, I sank harder because I'm a very prideful human and I didn't like talking about needing help. And then fast forward a few years, I got offered a position at Diablo Canyon Power Plant to be a nuclear operations instructor to teach civilians nuclear power. It was my forte. Um, I went up there with a friend of mine and who soon to became a girlfriend who we ended up having an intimate relationship, but was sober. She helped me kind of get the position up there. I started, I set the drinking and drugs down. And I was a dry drunk, dry addict, whatever you want to call that. And it was pretty ugly. I'll say you don't know how to handle emotions. You don't know how to, just take anything in. Normal job stresses, you just didn't know where to place it. And sometimes we turn to the people we love. And Shannon at the time took the blunt force of it. And then like any disease, even without drinking or using, I started pushing people away. I started isolating. I ended up picking back up, drinking, drugs, whatever you want to call it. And within about a month and a half, I attempted suicide. I tried to swallow everything in my medicine cabinet. I don't even know what I took. Mixing with that with alcohol, I was pretty insured. I probably wouldn't wake up, is what I hoped. But I did get waken up. It was by EMT, sheriff's office, and at the time, my ex Shannon. I remember kind of some memory of it, staring out into outside of my apartment, her crying, the cops trying to talk to her, like find out what I took. They're resuscitating me. I'm kind of barely there, and then I don't know what they hit me with or whatever. I started kind of coming to and just being angry that I woke up. I mean, that's how ugly it was. And then I beg and plead with the cops, please don't take me in for a 5150. I was so scared to lose my job that I fought so hard to get something back in my life that I felt some purpose in, but I really didn't. Within a week's time, I was continuing to drink again, continuing to use again, and I got another DUI, which ensued, I lost my job. And then I really knew in the back of that cop car, my surrender to God was not in a classroom, it wasn't in a church, it wasn't in front of people. It was my head paved into the back of that plexiglass and said, I don't want to live like this anymore, and I sure as shit don't want to fucking die like this. And then, I started reaching out to rehabs. I started trying to contact the VA. The VA did nothing for me, pretty much. I called the crisis line. Next thing you know, I met a guy named Travis Miner, who's a graduate from the Santa Barbara Rescue Mission. He pointed me in that direction. I showed up and I did the deal. I treated it just like anything. I got a sponsor that graduated also from that program. Yeah, I got through my steps extremely fast, and I just took to it like I did everything else in life because I had nothing left. I gave up everything to get well. Fast forward where I'm at now. I actually currently live in Northwest Arkansas. To kind of fill back this story, in January, a month after I graduated and left sober living at the Santa Barbara Rescue Mission, I ended up finding a school called UHP. We changed the title. Now it's called Unlock Human Performance. And they had like some health courses and stuff for veterans. It's a 19-day program. So I was like, I don't really have anything going on. This might be great to kind of reconnect with veterans across the country. So I flew out there, not knowing what to expect, but I was really taken by the beautiful, beautiful environment this place is. Within a few months' time, my case got dismissed on the DUI. I was getting job offers again, and then one of the head performance coaches asked me if I wanted to be a graduate assistant. I did that for a month because of how I showed up there. They asked me to come back to be an operations guy, which is like a facilities, wrench turning dude to fix this place and the upkeep of an 800-acre campus. And I got to fill Matt and a few people up backstage before this. I am now the director of operations here, where I get to truly live in the 12th step of being of service to other people, share this story, this message. And I have no doubt in my mind, God placed me here to reach the veterans that are walking in here with the same wounds and the ghosts I walked around with, to face themselves truly. And I actually leave a recovery class here for students. They can range from 10, 15, 20 people. And I kind of just open the floor up if anyone wants to talk. But you'd be surprised how bad addiction has creeped into the veteran community with suicide and all the things that follow with suit with addiction. It's really affecting the veterans beyond what you would ever imagine. The VA prescribing stuff that they can't get off, and they come here and they get off of it. And I got to actually share amongst the entire crowd of about 75, 80 of our students here my story. And when you watch these people walk up and tell you what's going on in their life, um, it's me too. You're not alone. We all struggle in so many ways, in different ways across this country, but in the veteran community, it sinks a little harder into my soul that now I know exactly why I'm here. I've been here for 6 months. I just started as a new director. The CEO is also a man of faith, and he knows my story inside and out. Now I'm also helping author his book. I'm hiring and firing. I'm managing all these people. And no matter what, I really explain to guys that come to me out here, my number one priority truly is my faith. And second is recovery. And my third value of all time is service. I have a very servitude style mentality of how I do business, and whether it's work, whether it's friendships, whether it's my family, and I'm able to do all that because truly my sobriety is the armor of God. And I know that now more so than ever because it's what arms me for everything I face. And I tackle it so much stronger and better than I ever imagined. 22 years of a really sick, progressive addict who almost died numerous times. And then to go through the mission and and take that place fully and share the message I got to do there, and then to come here and be so authentic and so transparent of what I've been through. Some of us, they say like it's just different when you have a gift from God to be able to operate nuclear power. I say a gift from God is just tell my story to stop someone from falling the same way I have. Um, I'm almost in tears thinking about like how far I've come. I shouldn't be here. You know, my sister got me a jacket and it's Gardens Over Graves because that's how I live now. You know, I'm on his time and I get to be in that garden with all of this, and I literally stay on an 800-acre campus with a beautiful river that we have baptized men in and women in a place to give back because I was a taker. I was selfish. I lied, and even to myself. And that's probably the hardest part is when you face yourself for the first time. And now today, I'm proud to look in that mirror, know what I've overcome. And I know that it has to get so dark for the stars to truly shine. And it's our job to lean into the light God has given us. But He also entrusted us to pull the others out because I know what it's like to be in the dark. And what better place that my job, my passions are put to a use I never thought imaginable. And I would never have gotten here if I didn't face the fury of getting sober completely. And And these tears I have right now are not because I'm sad, not because I reminisce in the past or stress about the future. It's just grateful, humble tears I can do every day now. And I wouldn't trade that for the world. And I also think that the tears come are all the ones I couldn't do before. Because when I was sick, I was so numb that I couldn't feel. I couldn't embrace these beautiful emotions God bless us with because we all like to say it's only me that feels this certain way, but it's not. It's everyone. We all share these things. And it's beautiful to have that. And yeah, I'm just so internally grateful. I'm almost 20 months sober and I'm still so new into this world, but I cannot tell you the amount of rise and success internally that nothing would have gotten me there if I didn't get sober. I'm God bless the rescue mission for a place like that. Um, I miss everybody there every day. But now I know I'm exactly where God wanted me to be and to give it back. And I get to do that so often. Um, and it's incredible, and my family has never been more proud, and that was something that was hard for me to face, that like I was their legacy, their success story, because that's all what we want is we want to make people better than themselves. And that's why I feel like it's true leadership and mentorship is making that human being better than even you are, to give them the tools and everything they need necessary to exceed you. And my parents did that so well, and I felt like I failed them when I had to go to rehab. But I'll never forget what my mom told me was that when I told her I was going in, she said the two proudest moments of my life, Eric, are when I got to put the shoulder boards on you as a naval officer, but the second time was when you said you needed help. Because it takes more courage than you could ever imagine to say I need help. And with that pride gone, that ego out of the equation, if you live in humility and gratitude, the ego dies, and I get to be that motivation for some of these men coming in here and some of the women that come in here with these wounds that, they don't have to bleed out, and I get to see men come back to their families change and women come back to be a mom, a sister, and it's incredible. I have no doubt in my mind where I'm at now is exactly where I'm supposed to be. Um, but yeah, I think I'm almost over my time. Um, I appreciate Matt for letting me be on here. I really was honored to take the time off today. So I'm winding down. If there's anything else or any questions, feel free.
I really appreciate you jumping on here, Eric. I think God's using you in a really specific, amazing way. You have an amazing background with military and what you've been doing, and I feel blessed to have crossed paths with you at the rescue mission. Dylan introduced us. You were
Yeah,
there a few years after I graduated. He's like, dude, you got to meet this dude, Eric. You're gonna love him. And sure enough, he was right, man. And I'm just stoked to see what's taken off in your life in a very short amount of time.
it wouldn't have happened, man. I mean, not without God and not with me to have the courage to say I need help, man. That's the hardest thing for some of us to do, that pride. So
Well, yeah, I think it's commendable too because you went there on your own. My first
mhm.
time when I graduated the rescue mission, I had the ultimatum of prison or going to rehab and got that nudge from the judge, so to speak, is what they call it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But that place changed my life, man. It gave me the tools that when I was actually ready to use them to their fullest capabilities, knew what to do when I came back around. So thank you for being you, man. Thank you for doing what you're doing. This is just the beginning of something really special for you. So.
Yeah. Thank you again, man. I was honored to get asked to do this. And that message has got to go out, man. It
Yeah.
just does. So
I know it's going to cross the path of the right people, man. That's how God works. We walk through the doors as He opens them, right? This was a door, you
mhm.
walked through it, you jumped right on it, and I know the right people are going to see that. So thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Matt. All right, man. I'm out. All
We'll talk soon. All right, brother.
right, brother.
Bye.
Later.
All right, I believe we are doing a quick commercial. Not sure when, but there we go.
Okay, it's so many
But
things happening.
don't leave me hanging. I don't know what's going on. I know we're doing a commercial, but that's all I know.
Yep, yep. So I'm just gonna share a commercial and then I'll bring you back.
Okay, sounds
All
good.
right. Thank y'all so much for being patient with us today. Like, this is, first of all, this has been a really great, just inspiring day. It's been an inspiring day. And so we're grateful to Matt for being willing to share his story. And we're going to give him an opportunity to share a little more about that. And right now, I am just going to take a pause for the cause, and I'm going to share some important information that we want you to know as a part of Perfect Publishing. We want to invite you to the wonderful things that we have going on.
I am so excited to be with my AI friends, my new brothers, my friends and partners. And we have a day we're celebrating July 16th, which is AI Day. So AI Day is a day where I get to learn a lot. I will say that at first I was a little timid and I was wondering, what am I going to do if I don't know what AI is? Am I going to be left in the dust? And they have embraced me and they've taught me so much about AI. And I just feel very confident about the future now. So, James, I want to thank you for being a brother and embracing all the hours I've asked you, can you show me this? Can you show me that? And so AI Day is for all of us to have the world feel a little safer about it, but also feel that there's abundance to be had if they leverage it correctly. So James, go ahead.
Thanks so much, Dr. Smalley, and thanks for working on this with us. I'm very excited about AI Day because it truly gives me an incredible opportunity to positively change lives all around the world. My mission in life and our mission at Momentum Tech AI is to provide hope, opportunity, and tools for success for real people to win. And this is the first time in history that there's been such a incredible opportunity for people to take advantage of a new technology that truly will create the greatest amount of wealth transfer in the history of humankind. And thank goodness that we have our AI sensei and AI master to help lead the charge of just really keeping other companies chasing our tails, trying to keep up with what we're doing with AI in such a positive way. Ed Garza, our Chief Technology Officer, founder, and my friend. Ed, take it away, share a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. As the Chief Technology Officer with Momentum Tech, I get to work with James. I get to work with great people like Dr. Breakthrough, Dr. Smiley, and many other superstars. And I get to hear stories that will melt your heart, really, and really shift you and thinking, you know what, I think I could use AI, right? And we see that every day. We see people against AI, and then they hear a story, and they go, "Wow, I think I could use AI for my business or my nonprofit, or I could use AI for my church." And really, what we get to see every single day is people's lives transformed. We see more positive screen times with kids and their parents teaching them how to use AI. We constantly get to hear these stories and we want you to hear these stories. So save the date. What day is it, guys? It's July 16th, right? This is AI Appreciation Day. This is our AI Story Day. We're putting a flag in that date as Momentum Tech, as our birthday and our launch date. So we want you to join us And we're going to see a lot of breakthroughs. Speaking of breakthroughs, we got Dr. Breakthrough, the one and only Dr. Stan Harris here.
Well, hey, thanks so much. You know, as Dr. Breakthrough, I always give a disclaimer. I can't provide a breakthrough. I just prescribe the breakthrough. But when people follow the breakthrough prescription, God Almighty provides a breakthrough they desire and deserve. And a breakthrough is exploding through barriers that at one time seemed insurmountable. And the easiest, most powerful breakthrough I've ever seen is leveraging AI. Archimedes said, if I had a lever long enough and a prop strong enough, he said I could single-handedly move the world. Well, with AI, you can do that, especially with our AI times 3. And that is taking artificial intelligence plus your own anointed intelligence to create the third AI, astronomical improvement. Now, nobody's against that, right? So again, you are at the right place at the right time. I hope you have the right frame of mind. Most importantly, take the right action. So our chief smiling officer, Dr. Smiley, what do you got to say, Doc?
Well, I have a link that I want to show people, and thank you so much to this wonderful team that created a really easy pathway for you to record your voice and have an avatar speak your story while you speak at another time that day and share about a hack, a leveraging piece. And Dr. Breakthrough, you know about a gentleman, Charlie Tremendous Jones. And he said the difference between where you are today is the people you meet and the books you read. I would think if he was alive today, he'd say, and the AI tool you use.
Come on now.
So I want to show real quickly where you can register. This is the Smile channel. And if you go to events and you go to future events, here is AI Day right here. And you'll be able to just click that and away you go. So we're excited to have you join on AI Day. This is going to be quite a community. I think for some people, when they watch this, it's going to be like that Charlie Tremendous Jones. It's going to be life will never be the same.
Right. And my last encouragement, if I can, Dr. Smiley, is really
Please.
stay tapped into our community. If you're part of Momentum Tech, join us at the AI Breakfast Lab, because that's where you're going to hear updates about this event, especially if you want to be a part of the story. And we want you to be a part of the story, because you know what? Your story matters. Your story could have an impact on a family. Like, I had a recent conversation with a celebrity, and it inspired him and his niece to write a book now together in third grade. Once they heard a story of a second grader writing a book with their mom, they were like, wow, I want to write a book with my niece who's in third grade. That's the kind of inspiration you're going to receive at this event.
And
Okay. So you know I got to throw in another one now, because Momentum Tech empowers the average person to create above average results and income in below average time with below average effort. So with the Momentum Tech, we're mixing high tech with high touch with a holy tenacity that creates the highest treasures. Come on now.
Come on now. You know what? Now I got to throw some more in there. So listen, folks, we not only want you to be there and be part of this, but as Dr. Smiley has inferred, we are giving you the opportunity to speak, tell your AI story. If you're going to join us, we're going to help you, tell your AI story, and we're writing a book. What if you had the opportunity to be part of that book, be a chapter in that book? Don't miss this event. You're going to love it. You're going to regret it if you're not there. So don't miss this event. It's going to be a lot of fun, and there are a lot of great things that are going to come out of it.
And I love all the events that you guys have done live. I went to Nashville and saw you guys. My son just had his birthday recently, and you guys made an AI video. And my gosh, he got an Amazon bestseller for his America book on Flag Day. And these are the kind of things that happen when you're with the right kind of community. This community is not just AI friendly. It is actually brilliantly connected by the heart. So
it is 100%. You know, we have other events even beyond this. You want to save the date, right, James? Don't we have a book writing event after this event? They just want to save the date, like, write it down.
Yes.
Don't miss it. It's free. We're all about like high touch, right? So we're going to constantly train. So tell us, James, when's that next book writing boot camp that's going to take place after the AI Appreciation Day, AI Day, which
I believe that one's July 26th, but I'm going to pull up my calendar just to make sure. But I do believe it is July 25th. July 25th. Saturday. It's a Saturday. Yeah, it's a Saturday. Yep. And as Ed said, this is going to be free of charge. We're going to show you how to write your book in a day using AI, but it's not a generic AI book, folks. This is our system pulls your genius out of you and it helps you craft a beautiful book. In fact, I'm not going to tell the story. Dr. Breakthrough, you tell the story about the book we wrote with you live while everyone was watching.
Yes, all I can say is real quick is the first book took me about 20 years, and leveraging the technology that you're going to be part of, my friend, working with Ed, the AI sensei, what I call him, and James, I was able to write a book in front of a bunch of people in about 1 hour. That's
Hey,
a
that's a
lapse of
story
time.
right there. I hope you're going to tell us that story. People need to hear that story because there's a lot of people that want to write books and they just don't know where to start. So we're going to help you pick up that shovel, maybe inspire you and stick it in the dirt. No matter what you need in your life, and maybe you need more quality time with your kids. Maybe you need to write that book. Maybe you need to put together a course. Maybe you need to build a website. I mean, you're going to get inspired on AI Day one way or another. All you got to do is register, tune in, and we want to hear your story. So lock yourself in.
And it's the start that stops most people. Don't let the start stop you. Get connected with Dr. Smiley because one of our greatest desires is connect with someone or a group of someone who can empower us to be, do, and have what we secretly know we can become and achieve. And this day is designed to be that day. Don't miss your day.
Amen. Amen.
Amen. Amen. So we'll see you on July 16th, AI Day, and you will make a lot of new friends.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for keeping up with that. We are so excited about July 16th, which is AI Day. That will be our next big event here with the Smile Channel and Perfect Publishing. And so make sure you go to thesmilechannel.com, click on events, and then you can sign up for AI Day. If you are an AI professional, if you know some AI hacks, that's what we're talking about. We want you to share them with us. We are so grateful to be partnering with Momentum Tech for this amazing event. And so, right now, I am going to bring Matt back up, and I'm going to just allow him to share a little bit more and really just congratulate you, Matt, because you are doing a phenomenal job with hosting today, but also with bringing people who have, although it is a similar topic, every story is so unique.
Yeah.
And bringing those people to the forefront and allowing them to share about their story from addiction to recovery and living in a place of sobriety and what that looks like. And you're such an encourager, and I really love that. And you really make the Lord first and so prominent in the things that you achieve and in your life and in the process. So tell us a little bit just about your book
Mhm.
and the writing process and why it's so important to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, Um, the faith that comes from my mom, and I give so much thanks for her for always leading by example from a very young age. I grew up with my mom, single mother, raising three kids on her own, putting herself through nursing school while living on an LVN wage and just didn't have a lot of money, right? And I saw a lot of struggles that she went through, and she always was faithful, always was strong in her faith. And I didn't realize how much she sacrificed for myself and my sisters at a young age. I think that's pretty common, right? But as an adult, I'm like, damn, and it's made our relationship so much stronger now that I'm grown. And I just look back and it's so funny how you become your parents, when you do a lot of things. But my mom used to It's so funny. My mom would be, I remember when I was a kid driving to school, she would be like shouting, things she's grateful for at the top of her lungs. I'd be like, stop doing that. You're weird, and I do that shit now. Like, I tell a lot of my clients to do that. I'm like, try it. You know what I mean? Like, if you have something going on wrong in your life, start listing off everything that you're grateful for, thanking God. And like, you can't be it changes your mood, it shifts you. And it's just little things like that. And I'm just, so thankful for my mom and her strong relationship with the Lord. And, there's a little bit more into it that I write about in my book. My book is my journey. It's my story, um, it was probably one of the most challenging things I've ever done was to go about writing it. And it was also an unexpected healing journey that I didn't know that I needed because a lot of these memories, I was in an altered state of mind. I was under the influence of meth and heroin, and I was just in a daze. I was in a psychosis, especially towards the end. I was starting to lose my mind. I was hearing voices in my head. And I write this in the book, and I've said it a lot, but it was like, the best way to describe it is like when you hear a TV on in the next room over, but you can't quite make out the words. That was what was going on in my head 24/7. And to know you're going crazy, but you're also like not sure if you're going crazy at the same time. It was like watching my life spiral out of control in real time. And it was a very scary experience. And, I think I was very close to being one of those people that you do see walking around talking to themselves that maybe took it one step too far and went to that point of no return, and God had different plans for my life. And I'm looking back, I'm thankful for all my experiences. And as far as going about writing, I believe that when you're living in alignment with who you're supposed to be, the best version of you. And what do I mean by that? Maybe that sounds cliche to some people, but to me, the best version of me is I take my health very seriously. But above that, I have a strong relationship with God. I do my best to treat other people well. I do my best to always have a good attitude and a smile on my face. And this is something I'm constantly working on. And I stress this so much to people is like, look, I am not perfect, man, and I'll never be perfect. Perfection is an unobtainable goal, but I do make the commitment to do my best every single day. And I have gotten really a lot. I've improved so much. Like the person I am today is not the same person who checked himself into that detox nearly 5 years ago. And I know the person that I will become 5 years from now is not going to be the person that you're seeing right now on this webinar. And that's from growth. That's from constantly just doing the small daily routines that I've incorporated into my life. And the template's always been kind of the same, but the little tweaking on certain things and changing little things here and there. And really, I was talking to a good friend of mine who is also my counselor at the Santa Barbara Rescue Mission. You've heard quite a few people on here from that place. And I was just telling him, I'm like, I look back on my year. Well, it was actually 16 months because I got kicked out for fighting and had to start all over. But anyway, I spent 16 months there. I look back at that as one of the happiest year and a halves of my life. And I'm like, I always try to ask myself, why was that? Well, for one, I was sober for the first time, but also I was really big in my health. I was surrounded by good people. I was in a faith-based recovery program. And I remember every morning we went downstairs and we went to the chapel and we read devotionals. I'm like, I need to do that in my own life. And so I started incorporating a lot of the things that I learned there into my life. Like when I was there, it was wake up, make my bed, hit my knees and pray. And that's what I did every morning. I didn't want to say I don't know why I was doing it, but I didn't realize what a positive impact it was going to have on my life. No cell phone was huge. I didn't have a phone for a year and a half. So they think right now. We all had some phones hidden somewhere, but we weren't on them all the time, right? Um, and so all these little things that, for myself today is like I'm really big on not touching my cell phone right when I wake up in the morning. I want to give myself a chance to decide how I'm going to feel and how I'm going to act before the world has any input on that. And believe me, I know how it is. Once you crack that thing open, it's hard. It's like a drug. And so if you can put that off as long as you possibly can first thing in the morning and give yourself to input something positive into your brain, you're setting yourself up for success. And for me, my little blueprint that I've come up with is I have a daily devotional that I go out in the kitchen. I have my little spot that I go every single morning and I read and I journal my thoughts and I reflect on who Matt wants to be for that day and what am I going to do if I do approach some sort of adversity? How am I going to handle it? Setting myself up to go out in the world and be the best version of Matt possible. And again, we fall short. That's what we do. We're human, but we try to get a little bit better morning exercise is really big for me. I love getting up and then working my mind, reading something positive, some scripture, a book that has some word or a positive impact on my life, and then go move my body. For me, I I feel like that's the recipe for success right there. I love the way I start every single day. And I don't think what I do is the only way to improve your life, but I definitely have found a way that works really well. So anyone that's willing to at least try these things and not for a day, not for even a week, a prolonged period of time with no expectation on when you think your life's going to change. I know that I was 2 years into sobriety and I would leave the gym and I would be feeling good and then I would have these depressing suicidal thoughts, and not like I was ever going to act on them, but the fact that I would even get this wave of depression after being sober for 2 years. And I just kept telling myself, I'm like, Matt, you did a lot of damage. You have a track record of about 10 years or so, depending on when you want to start the timeline of when I really started messing up, of bad decisions. You got to keep making more right decisions, and you're gonna change. And slowly but surely, it wasn't one big shift in one single day. It was small daily habits. And you'll hear me talk about that often. And yeah.
That's awesome. What a powerful story and journey, just to be able to say with everything that happens, but small daily habits can help you to make the adjustment, make the change, and help it to stick.
Yeah.
And it is something that I am learning even and trying to share with my daughter. Very same thing, daily habits. What are you doing when you first start your day? That matters. And she's a teenager, so she's trying to get on that phone immediately. But it matters. It matters. And being able to um, have that influence every part of your life and the things that you learned when you were in um, the recovery home that now you go back to and make it a part of your everyday life because it changed you. It shifted who you were. And so powerful. Listen, everybody, I want you to make sure that you go and grab Matt's book. Now, Matt is a humble guy. And so he's only going to tell you a little bit. I'm going to gas him up a little bit. Listen, we want to make Matt an Amazon bestseller today. So if you are watching online, if you are in the room, grab the YouTube link and share it. Go to his Matt, what are your social media handle?
My Instagram is Matt Fleming Official. Fleming has one M, so MattFleming official. Facebook is the same thing, and I also have a website, Redeemed Strength Official. So that's my coaching business is Redeemed Strength. So you can find my website there as well. And yeah.
Wonderful. So y'all go follow him, go tag him, go right on his page and let him know that you grabbed his book today because we have 24 hours to make that Amazon bestseller, okay? So we started this morning and we're going all the way till tomorrow morning. So go ahead and get one for yourself and get one for someone in your life. If you know someone who may be dealing with addiction, and this may be the story that will shift them into their recovery process. Or if you know someone who has gone through this process of from addiction to recovery to sobriety living, this book will maybe remind them of all the things that they have overcome. It's interesting. I've heard several of the gentlemen share and say, almost like, I don't want to say too much about myself. Like they want to downplay how much they have overcome. But this is a powerful testimony. And when you have overcome, you got to be able to say, "Hey, I did it." And they did not do it alone. They did not do it alone, but they were the ones who had to make the decision to get it done when it came down to it. And so, I want you to go on Amazon and get the Kindle book. We want you to buy the hardback, but the Kindle book is the one that is going to count. It is only 99 cents. The links are available everywhere. It's on the YouTube channel, and it is on in our Zoom room, and we're going to make sure that it's on Dr. Smiley's page, and I'm sure that it's on Matt's page. So go get the link and grab the book today, and then write him a review. Let him know what you think about his story and about the book that he's sharing with us. All right. All right, Matt. So you're up, and I want you to bring up Andrew.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tanisha. I appreciate you. All right. Thanks, you guys, for those that are still tuning in or just joined us. Next up, we have Andrew, and I'm going to let him obviously tell about himself. But Andrew, thanks for taking time out of your day
Yes.
for what is it, 3 o'clock in the morning where you're at? Something like that?
Yeah, it's just hit 3 a.m. Yeah, I'm in Seoul, South Korea.
Well, I'll let you take it away. Share your story, share your testimony, your sobriety journey, and what you've got going on in your life today. So again, thank you so much for taking time and making this happen, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I was invited just 2 days ago by I would say my mentor, Cindy Gould. She was on a similar event about joy, I believe. But yeah, seeing it was 3 o'clock in the morning, it was not an immediate like, heck yeah, I want to be up at 3 o'clock and tell people about my sobriety. With that said, though, it is a passion of mine to push my boundaries. I used to do it with alcohol, and now I do it through studying and coaching. So I'm British. I'm from the northwest of England, Liverpool, and I've lived in Seoul, South Korea for over 22 years now. And basically since high school, I was a drinker, my dad's family, my mom's family, drinking was just normal. There was nothing unusual about it until I started feeling like I was being bullied by my own siblings and parents for drinking too much. Like, well, I'm not drinking too much. Doesn't everyone throw up in a hotel, bedroom after a cousin's wedding? But no, I don't think it is. But that's getting ahead of myself. So I am very grateful to my higher power and to AA for my sobriety. The fellowship, as was said just before, we didn't do this alone. I didn't get sober alone. I made the decision alone that I was going to get sober, and it wasn't easy. It's not envy or any about people who have a rock bottom and then they have that epiphany. But however, there's always a part of me that thinks, oh, if only I woken up a little bit earlier, got sober a little bit earlier in life, what would things be like? But then I wouldn't be who I am today. I'm 46, 5 years of sobriety, and I wouldn't be this talking to you necessarily if I got sober when I was 30. Who would I have been? I don't know. So I'm grateful, and I wouldn't change anything. With that said, the day that I said I'm an alcoholic, it came on it was just another Thursday. It was another day ended in Y. I hadn't drank that day, and I got an email. I sent an email earlier in the week to AA Korea, and they responded to me a couple of days later with the meeting information, and I was like, I'll join. Had no expectation. Didn't really know it was a real thing, to be honest. I thought it was just something that's in movies or maybe in America, but turns out it's a huge global, phenomenon, cause, amazing. But anyway, after the meeting, I went back into my bedroom where my girlfriend was, 8 months pregnant. We hadn't legally got married yet. And I said, just had a Zoom call with AA. She's like, what's that? I'm like, Alcoholics Anonymous. And she's Korean. At that point, I mean, her English has come on leaps and bounds, thanks to the English teacher. But no, her own, she's a learning machine. But anyway, she was like, Alcoholics Anonymous, why? And I'm like, I'm an alcoholic. You know, I said it like an achievement. And she's like, what? No, you're not. And then I was like confused because weren't you the one who kept telling me for, you know, by this point, bear in mind, we've only been together about 18 months. So 22 years, a year and a half, maybe, actually, maybe being too generous. And, you know, we were full on. Like, I fell in love with her the day I met her. She's an amazing woman. She had a son, and that didn't bother me. Probably that's just my personality. I rush in. Like when I came to Korea, it was tangent a little bit, but I just spoke to a friend on MSN Messenger, was it back in that day in 2003? And I'm like, I don't know what to do. I've just graduated university and I can't get any money from the bank because my loans are too big, and you know I want to travel. And he's like, why don't you come to South Korea and work? They pay for your flight and they give you accommodation, they give you a salary, your vacation time, you can travel, you're near Japan, China. And I'm like, oh, interesting. Within a month, I was here. And my parents were just, everyone was just like, what are you doing? Like, whatever. But that's me. That's how I've always been, impetuous, not really, you know, thinking too deeply, just acting on what feels right. And for a long time, drinking felt right. And, you know, I never stopped loving it. When I was thinking about what I would share today, you know, there's ideas like, oh, you know, now the thought of drinking makes me sick. Why lie about that? It doesn't. It's very easy to slip into nostalgia for the good times. You know, not a lot, but I'd have to really think on the balance of the scale. However, you know, like Bailey's, you know, there's things I miss. It'd be like becoming vegetarian and missing bacon, I feel like. But the miracle is cravings. If you told me 6 years ago that I could walk into a convenience store and see, you know, all these different international beers and wines and stuff and not need it, not want it, not have to think of a reason why, like at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I can't have it. You know, I couldn't imagine it. It doesn't even faze me now. Sometimes I don't even see it. Sometimes I see it and I'm curious, like what's available these days, you know, it's like kind of now I'm, you know, married with kids. Spoiler. It's like going to the technology department of the supermarket and looking at the big TVs. Ooh, what could I afford? But I'm never going to buy it. Not yet, anyway. And I'm never going to drink again, as far as I'm concerned. And I never thought that'd be possible. I used to say things like, why would I live in Korea if I couldn't drink? You know, drinking was such a big part of my life, was a majority of my life in Korea. And it was in university before I came out here and in my teenage years. But, you know, as time went by, it just became more and more and more and more essential to my esteem, to my confidence, to my feeling of accomplishment, my social skills. So becoming sober was a real shock to me, really. Now I look back on it, I think, how did I even do it? And another thing that came up when I was preparing was, you know, how great life is after being sober. And I'm like, man, if I really think about it, to be honest, the first year was the best year. And I think it was down to being in a program with fellowship. I was doing meetings every day through Zoom or once or twice a week in person once the COVID restrictions wore off. It was 2021 when I got sober. But yeah, I think maybe 4 months in, 5 months in recovery, the in-person meetings opened up and it was great. So many pink cloud days, as people would say, you know, just walking on sunshine. Woo! Everything looked brighter. Everything felt good. People are smiling at me, and I would smile back. You know, things that used to frustrate me were not frustrating me. I didn't notice so many, you know, and things that were out of place. Life felt good. And not to say that life was perfect. I still had my challenges, but I was so focused on the program. And when, you know, this is not a 12-step recovery advertisement, but me doing the work made me feel good every day. And it's a bit like, as you heard just before me, about the small daily habits. Like, it was like that. I was doing meditation in the morning. I was praying in the morning. You know, I never got down on my knees and prayed in I went to Sunday school when I was young, but never. And now I do it. Well, at that, I miss it sometimes now, but at that point, I was committed to following the book, the big book, the guide. And I think that's what made everything better. And I would say the last 12 months have been the hardest of my life, because sobriety, you know, the no alcohol in my system strips away all that numbness, right? It strips away everything that makes you feel numb. And you know, that I know now that really that's what I was doing. I was numbing myself from all of life's suffering. You know, I have different perspectives on it now. However, in the last 12 months, just a couple of things that, you know, my second daughter turned 2. My stepfather died in March last year, and then my father, my biological father, passed away at the end of September. And I don't know if I would have got through it if I wasn't sober. Not to say that I was like some hero, like stepping in or anything, but I could be emotionally present, which I never could have been before. I was able to give eulogies at both funerals, and I felt proud of the men, you know, that were my role models, and I was able to express that, you know, meaningfully and earnestly. Whereas if I, you know, when I was, you know, blazing before, I wouldn't have done that. I probably would have been, I don't know, I probably wouldn't have even made it to England. I would have still been in Korea drunk. So yeah, the last 12 months have been hard. However, when I've thought about drinking, it's come from the point of not the alcohol. It's just I want to feel something different. And that's the trap that I found myself, I think, repeating in the last 5 years, is the cravings are gone. Like, I'm so grateful for that. But it's been replaced with a new idea, or maybe it was always there, that this is a thing that can take away my pain. And that's what opened my eyes to addiction and the way I would use prescription medication and even over the counter. I used to say I don't have an addictive personality. And I think that mainly came from the fact that I could smoke a couple of cigarettes and take it or leave it for a month or a year or whatever. But I realized when I, you know, I started sobriety, that I'm an addict for everything. I could do anything like an addict. Eating, drinking, smoking, medicating, exercise, work. Getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to talk about my sobriety, is that not what an addict would do? Yeah, of course. But I do this with pride now, whereas in the past it was all done through shame, and I had nothing but embarrassment about myself. But to get back to the feeling of drinking, it is purely to numb myself from the reality that I'm living in. So, you know, the gratitude that I have, five years ago, so May, let's say 5 years and 2 months ago, I was a train wreck. I was drinking every night. I was lying to my girlfriend, going out for a walk to be like, oh, I'm going to get my 10,000 steps in, drinking a few bottles of booze, you know, and thinking she wouldn't smell it, drink mouthwash, you know, things like that. And then I stopped. And I thought it was going to be, that was it. But all of real life came rushing in. All of the, you really, it's not just the past, it's the present. The present feels so visceral. And that might sound weird. It sounds weird to say, really, but I feel everything now. And sometimes I don't want to feel it. However, I've learned that it's good to feel it, because after the pain comes the joy. And like, we all love the cliches, no pain, no gain. And, from the mess comes your message and all that. I love the line from Vanilla Sky, I think it is, the sweet is never as sweet without the sour. And that's what I keep playing through my head. Like, I'm experiencing this because it's part of my life, and my life's getting easier. I have less to regret now than ever before. I've done amends. I've released resentments. I've been forgiven by people who I thought hated me. I've forgiven myself for so much things. I'm determined that I don't know if anyone could tell me in the chat how long I've been talking for, because I meant to set a timer on my phone, but I've completely lost track of where I'm at. But I wanted to mention, when I saw the title as Sobriety is D.O.P.E, determined, overcome, pursue excellence, I wanted to mention, for me, being determined was, I'm not going to go back to that person who constantly felt embarrassed and small and not worthy. So I'm determined not to go back there. And I'm also determined to help others realize their desire if they have it. Like, there's no shame in drinking. I'm not an anti-drinker. After a while of sobriety, I've gone back to going out with friends, and I drink Coke or sparkling water or whatever, and they drink, and they don't pressure me, and that's all good. But if you feel like something's off, if you feel like, you don't necessarily have control over what you're doing, what you're using or drinking, there's no shame in that. It's just, for me, I want to say, like, there's a huge difference between me using and me sober. And I want to be me sober. And I've done sober months, I've done sober weeks, and they were the hardest things I've ever done in my life, I think. Trying to stay sober for a month, dry July or whatever. And then once I admitted I'm an alcoholic and I committed to being sober, wow, it didn't require, maybe because of the way the steps work, maybe it's the fellowship, maybe it's just God working for me, but it was easier, so much easier. And overcome, man, I used to use drinking for confidence. Now I use sobriety for the thrill of talking to people. I couldn't imagine being online with people. I don't even know who's watching, but the idea that the whole world is available to see me talk about this would have scared the crap out of me just a few years ago. So now I repurpose it, and I want it to be my message for people who were struggling and suffering like I was 5 years ago. And then I aim higher, pursue excellence. I'm not patching up the broken man. I wasn't broken. I'm upgrading myself to be the best version of myself every day. I want to be better and better every day. And I want to help other people. And I think, absolutely, small daily habits, as we heard, you can do it. It's not going to happen overnight, and you shouldn't expect it to. And having no expectation of a deadline is a great idea, because you just enjoy the present moment and smile, and that's the real work, and you inspire others. And sobriety isn't the finish line. Sobriety is the first day of the rest of your life, as far as I'm concerned. So I will leave it at that. Thank you, everybody, for whoever's watching this and letting me talk and share my experience of sobriety.
Thank you so much, Andrew. I really appreciate you taking time to come on here and share your testimony and share your story about what you've got going on. I really appreciate it.
Very welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. Talk to you soon, man. Have a great day. All right. We have a little bit of time, I believe, until the next guest. So just wanted to share a little bit more about what things have been like for the last 5 years. October 2nd, like I said, I'll have 5 years of sobriety, and it's been a journey. And just like Andrew was saying, you can't expect things to happen overnight. It's been a lot of ups and downs. There's been a lot of challenging things that you face, or at least I faced in sobriety that I didn't face in when I was using and drinking. One of the I don't want to say misconceptions that a lot of people have, but I know for myself, when I first got sober, it almost seemed like my problems got worse. For the first time in a long time, I had to look at the wreckage of what I had done and face it with a clear mind and a sober set of eyes, and really just make the commitment to get to work to bettering my life. And in the beginning, I really didn't know what to do. I had a background in fitness, but other than that, I didn't have a whole lot going for me. So I just started working on myself every single day. And slowly but surely, God continued to open doors in his perfect timing. And I believe that a lot of people get focused on how to achieve a goal rather than realizing that the best way to achieve that goal is becoming the type of person that can handle that goal, that can achieve that goal. And, personal development creates professional success. And I believe that the baseline of everyone's personal development should be their health and their fitness. And for me, relationship with God, and just constantly trying to be a little bit better each day. And that's been my goal for, again, going on 5 years, and it's worked out pretty well. I've got to do some pretty amazing things over this last 5 years of journey. Um, I shared earlier, I've ran a couple marathons, I've done a couple bodybuilding shows, most recently gotten into kickboxing, wrote a book, obviously You Rule the Way, which is on Amazon, and we are trying to make it hit the bestsellers list. So there is a Kindle version available for 99 cents. If you can go purchase that, it would mean the world to me. I'd really, really appreciate it. You can leave a review as well if you've read it. I've also had a Facebook group that has dropped chapters over time. So if you feel like you've read enough in that group to leave a review, I'd appreciate it a whole lot. But going back to what I was saying is I've really rebuilt my life on doing hard things, just constantly challenging myself. And, that's what my coaching program is all about as well. It's obviously based around faith and fitness, but also, an identity shift, which is what I needed in early sobriety. I had a track record of the guy with broken promises that was continuing to just make poor decision after poor decision. And you start to identify as that type of person whenever you make those decisions for a really long period of time. And so I had to build that self-belief and that self-confidence. So I started doing things like getting up at, 3, 4 in the morning and going and running 5, 10 miles. And a lot of people don't understand that. And maybe will hear me say something like that and think that sounds stupid. And I challenge you to go try something like that. Go challenge yourself and do it consistently and watch how it makes you feel. Some of my most strong connections I felt with God in, I mean, even to this day, but especially in early sobriety, we're on those early morning runs, just like, wow, I'm doing this. I'm getting up early because it's uncomfortable. I'm running because it's uncomfortable. Getting into the gym and working out first thing in the morning because it's uncomfortable. And I know it has a positive impact on my life. And I share about this a little bit in my book, but there's science behind it. And I didn't know a lot about any of the science behind this when I started doing it. I just felt like it was the right thing to do. I felt like I was drawn to it. And there's an area of your brain called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex, which is on either side of our brain. This is a newer discovery in neuroscience, probably about a couple years old. But basically, it's larger in athletes, it's smaller in obese people, it's grows in size when these people start to diet. People that have overcome traumatic experiences and pushed through the resistance and overcame things, it's larger. People that have lived a longer, happier, healthier life have a enlarged area of this brain, and it's basically, for lack of a better word, your discipline muscle. You grow this area of your brain by doing things that have a positive impact on your life that are challenging. So if getting into the gym is uncomfortable for you and working out is uncomfortable or dieting or whatever it is, like you're growing that area of your brain. And every time you do something positive for your life like that, you're creating new neural pathways and to help you identify as that new version of yourself. And it's just powerful, man. It's really powerful. There's actually a really cool episode of Huberman Lab, which is Andrew Huberman. He's a neuroscientist at Stanford, but he has a podcast on the side. And he has an episode with David Goggins where they talk about this stuff. And it's really interesting to learn the science behind what's going on when you exercise. And that is why, one of my ultimate goals is I want to open up treatment facilities based around faith and fitness, doing the things that have helped me overcome the challenges that I've overcome in my own life and helping people recognize why you exercise. I say this all the time and I can't stress it enough. The physique is a byproduct. You take care. My training has always been um, a little bit not the traditional way of doing things. For instance, like when I was training for my marathon, I used to go and hit legs really hard at the gym right before I would go on a long run. I remember one time I put, and if you're a gym person by any means, you'll understand what I'm saying. If not, bear with me. But I put 225 on the squat rack and I saw how fast I could hit 100 reps in the fewest amount of sets. And then I went and ran 13 miles afterwards. Probably not the most ideal way to train for a marathon, like taxing your legs right before. But to me, it was a way to challenge myself. It was a way to see what I could actually take mentally as well as physically. Because what I've come to find out is this thing will tell you to quit long before your body actually needs to. Why do you think there's stories of people doing superhuman like power strength moves whenever life or death situations happen? You know what I mean? We're capable of so much more than what we actually think we are. Another good example would be like when I was prepping for my last bodybuilding show, I would get up and go run one morning I ran 10 miles, 4 o'clock in the morning, fasted before I went and did my morning workout. Like not anyone that coaches bodybuilding would tell you not to do something like that. It's not the most ideal way to do it, but you know what? It challenged me. And if it challenges you, it changes you. And I would say I did pretty well last time I competed, so it worked out for me. Another thing I would do is I would do when I was prepping for the show and you have little food in you is I would go train from 6 to 7 kickboxing in the morning. And then I would go train in the gym lifting weights for like 4 hours some days. And then I'd go train kickboxing again at night for another 90 minutes for no other reason, again, because it was just hard. And I tried to tell people and get them to recognize that like if you can do as many challenging positive things for your life every single day for a prolonged period of time with no expectation on when it's going to have some sort of impact on your life, you're going to get amazing results because of it. And it's just been a great experience, man. And, getting into the diet portion of things, like big on healthy eating, single ingredient foods, whenever you eat ultra processed foods all the time, you're putting your body's constantly sending signals, right? You have what's called one of your ways your body is constantly communicating from your gut to the rest of your body, to your heart, to your brain, to all the other areas is your vagus nerve. It's like sending signals back and forth. And if you're putting bad food into your body, you're constantly sending bad signals to your brain, and people wonder why they eat crappy food and they feel like crap all the time, like why they're depressed, they're not exercising, they're not taking care of themselves. 90% of your serotonin is produced in your gut, your feel good molecule. We could go on and on about the things that have gone on, but like in the early 90s, big companies like Marlboro and other cigarette companies had their top scientists go to food companies like Kraft and Kroger to figure out how to make food more addictive. So that doesn't tell you right there that there's a red flag about these things. I don't know what will, and I see it all the time in recovery. I've been to a lot of rehabs, a lot of sober livings, and a lot of times what I've noticed is people will come off of the drugs and the alcohol and then they start suppressing their feelings with food. And it's just another coping mechanism. It's all a way to try and fix how we're feeling internally. Food, drugs, alcohol, pornography, gambling. There's so many different people get addicted to working. You could even say extreme sports. You could even say working out. You could say what I'm doing is, coping with it in some way or another. And the way I see it, maybe those people are right, right? But doing it my way that I've done now has no negative consequences on my life. Actually, it only has positive impact on my life. So I try to promote these things and lead by example always. I'm never gonna, be that hypocrite that tells you to do one thing and then not living that life in his own life. And again, not perfect with this. I still struggle to this day. I know sugar's a drug. I still, that's why I pretty much cut it out of my life completely, because I know that whenever I have a little bit, I want a lot, right? There's a saying in recovery, it says once too many and thousands never enough. And I feel like that with a lot of unhealthy food as well. So, yeah, I really appreciate everyone that's taken time out of their day to either tune in and watch, and as well as take time to come share their testimony. There's been some powerful stories on here, some people that I know personally, some that I don't. And it's just really cool to see people come from similar backgrounds and then not only survive in life and not only get sober, but really thrive and take their pain and turn it into purpose. And I really believe that when you have a true purpose in life, you can't be depressed. You can't be, feeling any sort of negative way. Doesn't mean you're not going to have bad moments, right? We all do, but purpose is what keeps people driven. Purpose is what gets you out of bed with excitement every single day. And if you say, "Oh, Matt, I don't know what my purpose is. I don't have a purpose." Well, make your purpose becoming the best version of you. Become the healthiest, most disciplined version of you. And I promise you, in the process of doing that, you're going to start to figure out what makes you tick in life, what you want to pursue. And doors are going to open. And that's just the way the world works. That's how God works, You're going to come in contact with people that are going to open up that next door for you, and you're going to continue to walk through them. And that's what life's all about, man. I look at life as a game with infinite levels in a finite amount of time. And so I want to see how far I can go. And really it comes down to making the most of every 24 hours that you are blessed with. And I learned that in recovery, right? 24 hours at a time, one day at a time. Sometimes I have to even break it down into smaller segments, 1 hour at a time. How am I going to get through this next moment? And as I look back on my life and all the synchronicities, for lack of a better word, or to put them simply, is, those God shot moments. God's shown up for me every single time. There's always been a way that has been made when I saw no way, when I had no idea. And that's why, I have faith over fear always. And faith over fear is not the absence of fear. It's having so much trust and belief in God that He's going to make it work, that you lean into that faith regardless of what your thoughts might try to tell you. Um, and yeah, it's been quite the journey, and I wouldn't trade any of my experiences for anything. And I'm so thankful for everyone that played a part in my sobriety. People that I've got to help coach and work with in their own health and fitness journeys, and all the people that I will get to work with in the future, all the things that are, blessings that are coming my way. And my goal is just to continue to take those blessings that I'm given and use them to bless other people as well, to give back, because that's where I found the most fulfillment. And I know that's just come from a lot of the growth and the things that I've done in my own personal life to help me become a better man. In the beginning of my sobriety, it's funny, I've been journaling every morning since the day I got sober pretty much. And a lot of my goals and my vision for my life were a lot of material things, because I believe that, I didn't grow up with a lot of money, and so I naturally put people with money as like better almost. I put them up here like they were more important almost. And what I've come to realize through the work and through just constantly trying to improve myself is that my self-worth doesn't come from how much money I have and how what accomplishments I'm able to achieve. And that doesn't mean that I'm lowering my standards of what I want. I want to make a lot of money. That is one of my main goals in this life. But now it's for different reasons. Now it's to be able to give back and help people, and um, do as many cool things as possible. And obviously, take care of myself as well. Like that's very important. But again, I found the most fulfillment in really just helping others. And I'm going to continue to show that with how I live each day and the things that I do as I'm able to accomplish those next goals that I seek to go out and accomplish. And today, I don't have anything that I don't think I can accomplish if I'm willing to work for it. And that comes from all the self-belief of doing the hard things and just continuing to have a track record of making promises and showing up for myself. There's a affirmation by Alex Hormozy, or a quote, if you want to call it, that I absolutely love. And Alex Hormozy, if you don't know him, he's an entrepreneur, fitness guy, whatever he is. Look him up. Great inspiration. But he says, "You don't become confident by shouting affirmations in the mirror, but by having a stack of undeniable truth. You are exactly who you say you are. Outwork your self-doubt." And I was outworking my self-doubt before I even heard that quote, but I was like, wow, that's a great way to put it right there. So, um, if you struggle with limiting beliefs or doubt, challenge yourself, plain and simple. Find some things that make you uncomfortable, that have a positive impact on your life, and do them as often as possible.
Well, thank you so much. We're waiting for some of our other guests to come on. They are doing what they do. And
Yeah.
so, in the meantime, what I'll do is I will run our commercial one more time.
Mhm.
So we'll go backstage and I'll run the commercial. And then hopefully our next gentleman will be there. And then I'll talk about a few other things.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi, this is Dr. Smiley, and I am so excited to be with my AI friends, my new brothers, my friends, and partners. And we have a day we're celebrating July 16th, which is AI Day. So, AI Day is a day where I get to learn a lot. I will say that at first I was a little timid and I was wondering, what am I going to do if I don't know what AI is? Am I going to be left in the dust? And they have embraced me and they've taught me so much about AI. And I just feel very confident about the future now. So, James, I want to thank you for being a brother and embracing all the hours I've asked you. Can you show me this? Can you show me that? And so, AI Day is for all of us to have the world feel a little safer about it, but also feel that there's abundance to be had if they leverage it correctly. So, James, go ahead.
Thanks so much, Dr. Smiley, and thanks for working on this with us. I'm very excited about AI Day because it truly gives me an incredible opportunity to positively change lives all around the world. My mission in life and our mission at Momentum Tech AI is to provide hope, opportunity, and tools for success for real people to win. And this is the first time in history that there's been such a incredible opportunity for people to take advantage of a new technology that truly will create the greatest amount of wealth transfer in the history of humankind. And thank goodness that we have our AI sensei and AI master to help lead the charge of just really keeping other companies chasing our tails, trying to keep up with what we're doing with AI in such a positive way. Ed Garza, our Chief Technology Officer, founder, and my friend. Ed, take it away. Share a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. As the chief technology officer with Momentum Tech, I get to work with James. I get to work with great people like Dr. Breakthrough, Dr. Smiley, and many other superstars. And I get to hear stories that will melt your heart, really, and really shift you and thinking, what, I think I could use AI, right? And we see that every day. We see people against AI, and then they hear a story, and they go, "Wow, I think I could use AI for my business or my nonprofit, or I could use AI
Did you
for
find the
my
email?
church." And really. What we get to see every single day is people's lives transformed. We see more positive screen times with kids and their parents teaching them how to use AI. We constantly get to hear these stories and we want you to hear these stories. So save the date. What day is it, guys? It's July 16th, right? This is AI Appreciation Day. This is our AI Story Day. We're putting a flag in that date as Momentum Tech, as our birthday and our launch date. So we want you to join us And we're going to see a lot of breakthroughs. Speaking of breakthroughs, we got Dr. Breakthrough, the one and only Dr. Stan Harris here.
Well, hey, thanks so much. As Dr. Breakthrough, I always give a disclaimer. I can't provide a breakthrough. I just prescribe the breakthrough. But when people follow the breakthrough prescription, God Almighty provides a breakthrough they desire and deserve. And a breakthrough is exploding through barriers that at one time seemed insurmountable. And the easiest, most powerful breakthrough I've ever seen is leveraging AI. Archimedes said, if I had a lever long enough and a prop strong enough, he said I could single-handedly move the world. Well, with AI, you can do that, especially with our AI times three. And that is taking artificial intelligence plus your own anointed intelligence to create the third AI, astronomical improvement. Now, nobody's against that, right? So again, you are at the right place at the right time. I hope you have the right frame of mind. Most importantly, take the right action. So our chief smiling officer, Dr. Smiley, what do you got to say, Doc?
Well, I have a link that I want to show people, and thank you so much to this wonderful team that created a really easy pathway for you to record your voice and have an avatar speak your story while you speak at another time that day and share about a hack, community. I think for some people when they watch this, it's going to be like a charge.
All right, and so many things happening at once. So I'm sorry that that someone bumped me out, and so my sharing stopped. Um, but so Woody is here, and so if you want to just talk for about 2 minutes, so I get him settled,
Mhm.
and he's gonna be ready to speak. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. We're just waiting on our next guest. It should just be about 2 more minutes. If you're looking to connect, I'm on social media. You can find me at Matt Fleming Official is the Instagram. Same with Facebook. And then I also have a website called Redeemed Strength Official.com. You can get a hold of me there through email, whatever which way works best. But yeah, I'm looking forward to doing more of these in the future. So if you've come across this and you have a story about recovery and you want to, get out there, share your testimony, I would love to, have you on the next one. We're definitely going to be doing more of these. If you're ever interested in writing a book, but you don't know where to start, I would, you could send me a message or you can reach out to Ken Rochon at Perfect Publishing. He's who I went through. It's not only just a publishing company, but a marketing company as well. And most recently, when I finished my book, I got to go out to New York and Baltimore, Washington, do a bunch of marketing for it with a group of other authors, and we all supported each other, and it was a lot of fun. It was a really good time. And so, yeah, I definitely recommend them. And if you've been thinking about doing it, and God put that on your heart and you're not doing it, take action on doing it. Because I promise you, it was something that I held off from doing for a long time. The amount of times I started and then deleted everything, I can't tell you, too many times. So best time to take action on something is right whenever you get that first idea in your mind. So believe she is bringing Woody on now. There we go.
Okay, so Woody's having a little trouble getting his camera going. And so these are the things that happen when you're live.
Yeah, a lot of things are out of our control, right? So you just
For
do the
sure.
best you can and pivot and thank God for editing.
Right,
Later
right,
on,
right. For
people that are
sure.
watching right now get the real raw truth,
Right.
but there will be editing
Right.
done to make it look a little bit better. So
Exactly, exactly. So one thing we want to just tell everybody is, first of all, that we're super grateful for all of you for being here and for making this a successful moment for Matt and for all of those who are sharing. We are just really appreciative of you guys for coming in and for making this a really great day, because when you write a book, man, it's a big deal. It is a big deal, and we can't pretend as if, it didn't take a lot of effort. It didn't take a lot of just time, attention. And there's things that we deal with as authors that we're like, you have to address internally, and I'm sure Matt knows what that is about. Like, you have to be willing to kind of deal with some things within yourself when you are writing a book, because things come up that you don't expect, no matter what you are writing about. And I will say that no matter what you're writing about, there are just things that come up as a author as you're sharing your story. Things that you're like, oh, I've forgotten about that, or I didn't know that this is going to touch me the way that it did, or even bring up emotion the way that it did. Matt, was there anything that as you were writing your book that you were like, oh, I didn't know that this was going to come up, or that I was going to, maybe you started sharing something that you weren't expecting to share initially? Did anything like that ever happen while you were writing?
as far as like what I was expecting to share, I knew I was just going to be as open and honest and vulnerable as possible, which I definitely was in the process of sharing that story and of sharing my story. Like I said earlier, it was a big healing journey for me that I didn't even know I needed. It was a giant, year-long therapy session of sitting at my computer for hours on end. And one thing that I did that really helped, a few things that I did during the writing process was I had a playlist of songs that put me in certain moments. It's powerful how music can take you back to a certain time of your life. So I had like 4 or 5 songs that I would put on before I would start writing. And I'm telling you, that was sitting here, I would start crying, but like happy tears, right? Certain things. A lot of times I would go do a really intense workout right before I would write. I would bring my computer
Mm,
with me to the gym, and I would just bust my ass as much as I could because those endorphins, you start getting real, you feel good. Sometimes I would bring note cards with me, or I would just use my phone and I'd go on long walks. And when I would think of something, I would write it as a bullet note in my phone, or on a note card, so that later I could go back and, realize that or expand on that thought. Um, a lot of things, when I was going through doing the things that I was doing, like I was in a altered state of mind, right? So a lot of things, they're blurred memories and in which order things happened. So sometimes I would get done with a chapter and realize I have to go back and fix this because this isn't exactly what happened, or something else happened in between then. So yeah, there's a lot of, you can have a plan, but it's not going to go as planned. That's for sure, and that's to be expected with pretty much anything in life, right? We always got our plan. It's not always going to be perfect, but I had an affirmation on a sticky card on my computer the entire time, and it said, "Just make it exist. You can make it great later." And that was my go-to, right? Whenever I wanted to have something that would be perfect, and I would just be stuck in this certain spot. And it's like, just make it exist, and you can refine it, and it's never going to be perfect, right? Like, I can still look back and want to go change certain things to this day, but I would rather have an imperfect existing book than a book that didn't exist, right? You know,
yeah.
and I just know that I was real and I was raw and I was authentic, and it's It was hard, man. I remember when I was in New York with you guys and like someone texted me, they're like, "Oh, I bought your book." I'm like, "Oh shit, it's real." Like there's a lot of things in there, right, that I've shared. I've shared them on podcasts before, but with the podcast, and I've done a ton of them at this point, I just kind of like forget about it. It's like, all right, I said what I said, kind of forgot about it. But a book, it's written there. It's written for everyone to see. And when people know your deepest, darkest insecurities and secrets and things that you've gone over in your life, it's an uncomfortable feeling at first. But growth is uncomfortable. You'll hear that as a common theme in the things that I talk about. And it's not just in the gym. It's not just doing things that make you uncomfortable physically, but mentally as well, and I know, I told myself if I was able to even help one person change their life, then it would be worth it. And, it's impossible to be a life-changing presence to some without being misunderstood or a complete joke to others. And if that's the price of impact, then I'm willing to pay that price. I made that commitment a long time ago when I started being open and honest about my story. And I had one person reach out to me. At this point in time, I've had tons of people reach out to me on either social media or whatever it is that used to know me and seen where I've come from. And some people that haven't, that just seen my story that never met me before. But one person in particular that I used to run around and get high with, they reached out to me and they said, Matt, I'm in recovery. I've been trying to get sober and I was literally on the verge of committing suicide, and I've been watching you on Facebook and all these other things, and you've really inspired me to change my life. And so that right there just solidified, okay, man, you're doing the right thing, no matter how uncomfortable it might be at times. We all have our fears, and it's natural to not want to be judged by others, but at the same time, I'll speak from experience, whenever you start showing up for yourself consistently and you really do live life the way, not perfect, but the way that you think God would want you to live with integrity, you stop caring so much what other people think. Your relationship with how you feel about yourself and in God's eyes is the most important thing. And if anyone else has something to say about that and for living that way or with what you're doing and preaching, so be it. You just gotta, again, you gotta understand that comes with the territory. I feel like when you're doing something right, you're gonna have some people that are gonna hate on you in the process.
Listen. It's I love what you said though, because it's like you don't know what being honest and being open really is going to bring your way.
Yeah,
It brings opportunity, but sometimes it brings opposition.
yeah,
But when you're telling the truth, though, when you're being honest and when you're doing what God called you to do, what you can stand on is the fact that He told you to do it. And so it's not even your fight to fight.
man. Yeah,
It's His fight. It's like, now, God, you got me out here.
no,
Do what you
absolutely.
do. It's his battle to win.
Yeah,
And what we know is He wins every time.
amen.
And I love that. I love that. That's so powerful. Um, so I want to ask you another question. Listen, right now we are just kind of shifting because we're trying to give people an opportunity to pop in.
Mhm.
Um, and sometimes, you don't know what you don't know, especially when it comes to technology.
Yeah,
Yeah, so we're hopefully going to grab a couple of more people who are going to come in. But in the meantime, I want to just thank you, Matt, for being here and for being such a great example to everyone. You just shared how you're an example and an inspiration to other people who are in the place you used to be. Now, how many years has it been since you completed your recovery process, the original?
Um, I mean, I would say you never complete it, but like you mean when you first got sober?
Yes.
I got sober October. I checked myself into detox October 1st, 2021. So 5 years will be October. So I count October 2nd, my first day I woke up with no mind-altering substances in my body. Um, my journey to sobriety has been a lot of ups and downs. I've had my first time that I really committed to going to rehab and like actually trying was at the Santa Barbara Rescue Mission, and that was in 2000, early 2017. I had been to plenty of rehabs before that, but they were just as a way to get out of jail early. The one that lives that lifestyle knows what I'm talking about. They'll always offer you some sort of substance abuse program, or you can max out your time. And I was that guy that was always like, oh yeah, let me just get out of here and I'll deal with my problems later, right? Kick the can down the road a little bit further, knowing that I wasn't going to, stay. And I went to a few places. I think I lasted like 33 days at one place. I remember one time I had my mom drive me all the way. She drove me to a program when I was like 22 years old, like 4.5 hours north. And the second she dropped me off, within, I think, an hour, 2 hours, I was on the streets. I was like, I don't even know why I came here. It was a waste of time. I knew in my head the entire time that I was not going to stay, so I had no idea why I did that. But I went down to a couple programs in San Diego, and yeah, it's been a journey for sure. And when the pain of remaining the same is greater than the pain of change, then change is finally possible. And for me, I'm a very hard-headed person. I have to learn. I am. That's how I've been my whole life since I was a little kid. I've got to learn. Oh, I don't have to, but I've chosen to learn things the hardest way possible. And it is what it is, right? And I had to let life get pretty bad before I was able to ultimately try and fix everything. And I love my life today. I wouldn't trade my life or my experiences for anything else. I It's what makes me me. I'm a very driven person. Like I think growing up I never felt good enough. And now it's almost like I still have a little bit of that in me, but it like drives me to try even harder. It's almost like one part of me is telling me I can do anything. And there's another part that says, no, you can't. And it's like that necessary evil in my life that keeps me going every single day. And I don't know, it works. Whatever it is that has happened
Yeah.
works. Because I'll do anything. Like you can't tell me I can't do something. I'll figure it
Yeah.
out if I want it, right? If I don't, if I'm not interested in it, it's whatever. But if I decide I want something, I'm very persistent. And that's again,
Sure.
that's been me since I was a little kid. So
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, well, it looks like we've got a couple of our folks in. So, what I want you to do is
mhm.
share one more time about your book, let people know where they can grab it, give them detail your contact information, and then I think James Gentar is going to be up next.
Okay. Awesome. Well, for those of you just tuning in, my name is Matt Fleming. We're hosting Sobriety is Dope. Today has been a lot of different stories of people that are in recovery that have overcome addiction or traumatic experiences and learned to thrive, not just survive, not just get sober. And I've had the privilege of letting them come on here and share their testimony. I have my own journey as well, from meth and heroin addiction to ultimately today where I'm at. Entrepreneur. Written a book. I have a coaching program based around faith and fitness and mindset, and I get to work with a lot of really cool clients, a lot of clients that are just trying to better themselves every single day. My book is called You Rule the Way. It's available on Amazon. There's a link. There's actually a Kindle version today that's available for 99 cents. If you're able to go purchase that, leave me a review. It really helped me out. And it's just my story of the things that I've struggled with at a young age, the challenges I faced, the way I ultimately ended up coping with those things, which was through drug and alcohol addiction, the consequences that came with living that lifestyle for so long, and then the things I've done in my recovery and continue to do this day to better my life. And so that's the book in a nutshell. And if you would like to support me, I would really appreciate that a lot. And if you want to get a hold of me, you want to work together, you're trying to make your health and your fitness a priority. If it's something that you've been wanting to do for a while, or you just want to send me a message, you can find me on Instagram at mattflemingofficial.com. Facebook's the same thing. And then I also have a website called Redeemed Strength Official, which is the name of my coaching business. And again, here's the book. Sorry if it's a little blurry. Oh, there we go. You rule the way. So we have our next guest coming up right here, right now, whose name is James, and I'm excited to let him come on here and share a little bit about his journey in recovery as you guys continue to watch. So thanks for the support. Hey James, how you doing today?
Very good, sir.
Awesome, man. Thanks for taking time to come on here and share a little bit about your story. Where are you from, and give me a little bit of background on you.
Sure. Originally, I'm from the South Bronx. I grew up in an area of Willis Avenue Bridge. I'm presently residing in Florida, in Vero Beach. If you want me just to, the date of my last drink is March 8th, 1980. And I just will tell you that from the very beginning, I knew something was wrong. I just didn't know what. I was too young. I was a child, and I just said, "What the hell is going on?" I didn't feel like the others appeared. I didn't. I went to the bakery with my mother. I looked in at all those big cookies and cakes, and I said, "Damn it, when I get older, I'm going to buy a bakery." So that was the beginning, I guess, of alcoholism. What does that have to do with drinking? Spiritual, mental, physical. I was to find out later from a guy named Ray O'Keefe that drinking is just the tip of the icebox, Ray used to say. And I raised my hand when I had 90 days to tell him, "You meant the iceberg." No, he meant the ice box. Because the most bizarre way you state something, it sticks with you. He said that 47 years ago, and it ruined my life because I'll never forget it. And now I just ruined your life. I couldn't wait to get out of junior high school, and if I could just get into Gompers High School for auto mechanics, everything would be fine with the world. I couldn't wait to get out of Gompers. If I could just join the Navy like my brothers, everything would be fine. I learned how to drink really good in the Navy. In the Navy, I sang La Bamba. You know, when you drink sangria, you can speak Spanish. I sang at a festa with a white uniform on with purple stains on it. Une poca de gracia, bambari. Brrr, the whole thing. I became Spanish. I got out of the Navy. I got to straighten out. This is getting bad. Maybe if I become a police officer. I did. You know what? This is bad. Maybe if I get married, I'll straighten out. I asked someone if they wanted to get married. They said yes. That's not how you get married. I got married. Things weren't good drinking. You know what? Let me see if I could have kids. You're not supposed to see if you could have kids. But if you're an alcoholic, I think some of us wanted to see. I was married a year. I had twin daughters. I loved them. They're 55 years old. They call me every day. I call them every day. I go back and forth to New York to visit one, another one's in Florida. I have a wonderful life today. I'll end with this. I was walking a beat. I got out of Navy, I was 21 years old. I was in AA by 32 years old. During those 10, 11 years, I was walking a beat. I was in uniform. I had $6 in my pocket, not a five and a one. Crumbled up ones and a lot of change. Why? I had a wife and two kids at home, young kids. Why did I have only $6? Because I was out drinking. The last 3 years of my drinking, I was Italian. I'm not Italian. I'm Irish. My mother's name is Madigan. What does that have to do with drinking? Maybe we don't like who we were. Maybe we try to be somebody else. This is a mental disease. There's more to this. We didn't drink because we loved alcohol. We drank because we hurt. I couldn't dance and sing, especially one part of it's because you're Irish, but the other part is when you drink, you think you can dance. You think you can sing. It's a miracle. I was sent to AA by a police commissioner who thought I had a problem. The first meeting I went to, I laughed. I've been laughing ever since. How do people go to the dentist without being in recovery? I don't know. When I had 18 years in Alcoholics Anonymous, I was diagnosed with kidney cancer and bladder cancer. I don't know how I made it through. He asked me, "Do you drink?" I said, "I haven't had a drink in 18 years." He said, "It doesn't matter." So if you're here, if you're in recovery, consider yourself very fortunate. This is what I prayed for. This is what my mother prayed for. This is what people who are praying for you now. This is the answer to all those prayers. Those of us who have this fatal disease, this is our only chance, is recovery. This is a killer. They tell you when you get into recovery, buy a black suit. I have watched this at least weekly, if not sometimes monthly. I tell you, this is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me in my life. I never thought, this is my magic number. I don't know what yours is. Jimmy, you'll never see 30. On July 17th, with the help of God and the thanks of recovery, I'll be 79 years old. It never would have happened. My prayer for all of you, anyone who's listening, this is not about drinking. Why do I still attend meetings so much? I attend meetings so that I don't lose my license. I attend meetings so I don't have my third divorce. By the way, I'm not married. I haven't had a third divorce or a third marriage. But I attend meetings for here. I attend meetings because I can get road rage with a shopping cart in a supermarket. That's why I continue to attend meetings. AA is physical, mental, and spiritual, and too many of us only want to talk about the drink. I have two brothers in my group who are bartenders at a very busy bar. Once you're here over 90 days, you might find out that this thing of ours is not about drinking. And with that, all I could tell you is that this has been the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. And I pray that it'll be the greatest thing that's ever happened to you. So again, I thank you.
Thank you so much, James. I really appreciate you taking time to come on here. How you doing?
All right, brother. Really good. Thank God.
Yeah, thank you for coming on here and sharing just a little bit about your story and your journey. So appreciate you. Next up, we have Elizabeth Grant. She is getting ready to come on here any second. So there we go. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me on.
Awesome. Thanks for joining. I appreciate it.
No problem. I'm so happy for you. I want to first thank you for all your hard work and your amazing story. I just wanted to share. My name is Elizabeth, and I have 9/11/2003 is my clean date. So I'm coming up on 23 years. And today, I wanted to share with everybody because I've been talking about so excited. And maybe I'm annoying. I was at my nail appointment and I was sharing your book, right? And sorry. Uh, and I got these colors, by the way. And someone paid for my nails because they said that they're going to buy your book and that, you've been paying it forward and the author who wrote that book is paying it forward. And now it's my turn to pay it forward. I thought it was pretty cool. So how my life was before I got clean and sober. I was bankrupt in the spiritual sense. No job, no friends. I was just, I lost everything. And in 2003, in April, I had converted to Catholicism. And I was at my confirmation and I leaned over to my sponsor at church and I said, "Oh, next is AA." And she said it so loud during the service, really? And I struggled for like the first 5 months. And then I had reached out to a friend of mine who I've known since I started using, really. I met him shortly after. I used every dime to drive to Sacramento. And I've always actually admired him. So I reached out to him and I drove up to Sacramento and he said, "Liz, if you want to be my friend, you gotta quit." I said, "Oh, it's on like Donkey Kong." So I quit. So life was difficult. Sorry if I get a little emotional. During the first 45 days, on my 45th day clean, on my mom and dad's wedding anniversary, my father died of a massive heart attack. And I stayed clean. And then during that same year, I lost contact with my friend who had helped me so much. And I really struggled during the whole time of my recovery, letting him go because I connected to him, connected so much with him. I did write my own memoir, but that's a whole different reason. We're here for you today. So I got to stay on track. I didn't realize that I had all these steps to do. And I'm doing it a fifth time. And, we're like this onion in recovery. The layers just keep, we just keep discovering like, oh, I did this and did that. And we learn and we progress and we move on and we grow up. And I have definitely grown since 2019, since COVID, right? And Jimmy spoke before me. He's a retired policeman, police officer, I believe the chief of police, or if I correct me if I'm wrong, but that was my first dream. My second dream was to work at UCLA, and I work there now. And being clean and sober, I'm able to aspire and to set goals and achieve them. When I was during my using days, I was quite heavy, and then once I quit, I gained like 80 pounds. So I've lost over 220 pounds. I'm 160 pounds now. I work out every day. I eat healthy too. And Matt talked about like eating right and taking care of yourself, because what happens when you get in recovery, because using, it doesn't matter what it is, or it's a symptom to a deeper problem. And we all have problems, right? So whether it's lying, cheating, adultery, it doesn't matter what it is, it's a behavior problem. So I've done the work, and you can too. If you have a problem, you know, get help, get into recovery if you're actively using, because it's just an amazing thing that you can do for yourself. It's the best thing. And, when I got into recovery, I didn't love Elizabeth. I didn't even know what love was. I mean, I had this idea. I think what I thought about love, what it was, I did it. I tried to, but I really wasn't loving Elizabeth, right? So getting clean and sober, I just didn't realize, what I was going to get out of it 23 years. Now, today, I'm able to be the best version of myself. And every day is a daily reprieve, of course. And, you know, I am sensitive still, as it says in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. It does say that. I think it's on page 125 or 25. I don't remember. I think it's 125. And I'm still very sensitive. I want everybody to like me, and I don't have any control over that. So, I try to just breathe through everything. The other thing is that I'm going through some medical stuff, and I was told that I needed to see oncology and have this my breast looked at, because I don't, I have to do some more deep tests as regarding my left breast. So I'm a little nervous, but I'm here today, and I just take it one day at a time. That's what we do. And us addicts or alcoholics, and we kind of think like, oh man, we can't get clean. We can't get through the day without spiraling or using. And you can. You just have to breathe and get through it, because there's nothing I can't do that I have to use drugs or alcohol. And it's such a better life being clean and being clear. I can't even begin to tell you how I'm so thankful for my friend Bob, that he helped me, and that his best friend's family have stood by me through it all. Recently, because I remained friends with the woman he knew and dated. She passed a couple weeks ago, and it was very hard time. And so, life still goes on, and but I don't know where I'd be if I didn't even convert, if I didn't know my friend Beth, if I didn't reach out to Bob. I would have probably had a whole different experience, and I hope I'm making sense, but I have 2 degrees now. I'm going to be going to UCLA because I work there, right? So I get 66% off. Isn't that awesome? I mean, it's first semester. It's like $7,000 for like a half-time student. Crazy. So I'm just going to I'm going to carry on. I'm not going to my head can just, the committee inside my head. We'll call it we'll call it this committee, the negative thoughts that human beings do to themselves. You know what I'm saying? We just, it's nonsense. We talk ourselves out of it because it's like the bad part, whatever that is, the angel or the demon. The demon's telling you not to, that you're a piece of, you're a piece, you're not worth anything. Well, I know I'm worth something. And I wake up every day and say, this is going to be a good day. And I don't let things get me down, because I know that everything outside of me is out of my control. And letting go was a very, very hard process for Elizabeth Grant to do. And to just, be in acceptance of life on life terms. If you have any questions, you could always, message Matt, or you can look me up on the internet. I will, but Matt, I did purchase your book, and I'm going to read it. It's a great title. I'm just very happy for you. And that's really awesome. It took you less than like 2 years to write that many pages. It's awesome. You should be I bet your family's proud of you. And I don't know how long I've been speaking, but I'm almost done. What else can I say? Um, I in my recovery, I have I've lost some people in my life. And when I was using, I would use over it because I would blame myself you know, for that happening. You know, it's not my problem that people die, but I couldn't handle it. It's like I couldn't get through the emotional problems of things without using. So you get clean, do the work, go into rehab or attend meetings, get a sponsor, be a be like serve, be a part of the meetings and be of service, and just reach out. The phone doesn't weigh 1,000 pounds, and you got this. And call somebody and get like a tribe of people to. I have a group of women, including my sponsor, my grant sponsor, my best friend. I have like a whole tribe of people that I lean into every day because my best friend, my oldest sister Trish, she died not this past January, but the one before. It was on Martin Luther King's birthday on the 17th, and I took a leave of absence. And if I was going to use, it probably would have happened but it didn't. But the thing is, when my dad died, I had just gotten clean, right? Trying not to move because of camera. But uh, what is the thing? My emotions were not completely together. So when my sister died, whole different experience. I was much more mature, much more grown and together, my thoughts and my feelings. And I think that's part of the process when you get clean and you stay clean and you do the work. The steps are really, there's 400 offshoots of AA. Did you guys know that? That's a lot. And there's a program for anything you can possibly think of. There's help out there, and it's there and available to you, and you're not alone. That's all I have. But I'm very grateful, recovering alcoholic addict, and I'm glad to still be clean. And I am very grateful for the ones that encouraged me, like Robert, my friend Jeff, my family, my husband, the people that are in my pack, and James, um, and to you, Matt. I don't know you, but you live close. But I'm grateful, and I remain grateful every day, and I'm definitely grateful to my God, the God of my understanding in Jesus Christ. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. I appreciate that a lot. And, I think gratitude is definitely key. You'll hear that with a lot of people that are successful in their recovery. And yeah, I try to tell people that all the time. You focus on all the things that are going right in your life rather than the little bit of things that might be going wrong. And it's all about perspective. So again, thank you for jumping on here and taking time out of your day to share your testimony. I appreciate it a lot. Of
Thank you so much. Thank you.
course, have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, we have one last speaker, but I don't think they're going to show up in time, so we are going to wrap it up early. I appreciate everyone that took time out of their day to either tune in or come share their story on here. And yeah, I look forward to doing this again in the future. This was the first time ever, and with doing things for the first time, there's a learning curve, and I think we handled it pretty well. So um, yeah, thank you, Tanisha. I appreciate it.
Great job, Matt. We're so grateful for you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, your insight, your story, and for inviting so many wonderful people to be a part of it. Thank you to everyone. Thank you to Dr. Smiley, to our team, Faison, Aisha, Amy. Thank you to everyone who has supported. Thank you for being here, and make sure you guys go and grab the book, You Rule the Way by Matt Fleming, and get it for yourself and for a friend. And like I said, it is the Kindle book, not Kindle, but ebook that really makes a difference for us today. We want you to get the hard copy, but definitely get the ebook today. All right. So congratulations, man. So
Thank
I'm sure Smiley will be texting you all night what your levels are and all that stuff.
All right. Sounds good. I
So make sure
appreciate
you
you.
share it some more.
Yeah, I will definitely. I've got a lot of Zoom meetings today, so it's gonna be a long day in front of the computer. I got 3 more after this. 3 more hours
All
is gonna
right.
call.
All
But hey,
right. Well, have
bless.
an amazing day.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.